We have been Schmeckeldorfed. It's only been 2 months since they played the big prank on us, since we were all deceived, like Sauron giving us the rings. I foolishly bought into the idea that Xbox's new CEO, Asha Sharma, was on the right path after she made that statement about the shortcomings and what Xbox needs to return to its former glory, and even dropping the absurd Game Pass prices down, which I know isn't some move of an angel, like it's not some benevolent gift she bestowed upon us out of the goodness of her heart. It is a standard business tactic called price anchoring, because where they ended up with the new price for Game Pass is still higher than where the price was initially before they had the absolute lunacy that was the 50% price increase, which is just fucking sinful. Trust me, just like when the peanut butter's on the top shelf, I know it's there and it's painful. I get it, I really do. But what you have to understand, when it comes to Xbox, we are just emaciated when it comes to anything positive in that fucking cesspool. You have to dumpster dive into the very bottom, get into the dumpster juice, the sludge water there, to find W's when there's even a morsel of one there. And in this case, her reverting that price even a little bit, like taking foot off of everyone's nutsack, I believed was at least a step in the right direction. And the thing she was saying was accurate about, like, why Xbox is no longer the juggernaut that it was. So I really did think that she was starting to course correct the ship here. But now, sports fans, I gotta tell you, it really seems like anyone who takes up the mantle at Xbox is cursed to ride the Orb of Confusion crazy style. Like, that's the only explanation here. They are once again back on their barnacles, bro. And to be fair, it's not even accurate to say that, because they just never stopped with the horseradish. I just assumed, and I think a lot of us assumed, that with Asha correctly identifying the shortcomings of the Xbox brand for so long, they would also have that come to Jesus moment, that eureka, the light bulb that goes off in their head, that the relentless, ruthless, cutthroat shutting down of studios was also not helping them at all. In most cases, there were a few that I understood where they just literally had nothing to show for years upon years of work, like just couldn't release a game. So I get it, because it was just hemorrhaging money, just these huge payments and still not a single game that they were able to fart out. Like, I get those. But that's not all of their shutdowns. And their most recent ones actually have me at my chin scratching the fuck out of it, because I can't understand. Because some of the studios they shut down are actively far along in development on titles people are excited for, or they have also just recently released titles as well. It just makes no sense to be constantly looking for ways of shutting down these studios, when the biggest problem, the one that's plagued Xbox the most above all others, and one that Asha herself has even tinkered around with and slapped around, is that Xbox has no games. There is nothing to justify spending the hundreds of dollars required to get the Xbox when there's just fucking nothing on it except dust and broken dreams. Like, there is no reason for you, nor I, nor your mom, your mom's boyfriend, your dad, whoever, to go out and get an Xbox. There's just no fucking games for it. And you know what doesn't help there is shutting down all the studios that are working on games. And that's what's just happened here. And you know what else just happened here? Me dropping the truth about the best damn beverage on the planet. Gamerade from Gamersubs. This is my new flavor here. Motion Potion. Can't get the camera to focus on it. There it is. It was glistening too brightly with the heavenly glow. Gamerade is a no caffeine, no sugar, hydration formula with creatine. And I think you all know by now I'm a big proponent of creatine. The quantity in here isn't for like weightlifting or anything, it's just for general brain health, just to keep you sharp. So if you're interested in trying it, you can click the link in the description below. And like I was saying, it is happening again here with Xbox. They have just shut down Ninja Theory. And they put the fear of God in other studios under their umbrella. It's not even really an umbrella. They got them in like fucking pit of like barbed wire. Basically, they're walking on eggshells down there, but they have also apparently been tinkering around with the idea of, Double Fine, maybe closing the door there, Compulsion Games, and Arcane. Now, I think this is crazy because at the most recent Xbox showcase, which was like 8 days ago, they prominently featured Ninja Theory's upcoming game, the new Hellblade game, Sinwa. And I understand the Hellblade franchise has historically flopped. It's been kind of weak in terms of sales, and I personally am not a huge fan of them. I find them to be more like tech demos than actual games. But they were actively far along with Sinwa, and they had even showcased it at Xbox's own event to pretty big success because it looks like they were prioritizing making it a game for the first time in this franchise's history. So it was pretty exciting to a lot of people, and now they announced that the studio's vanished to the Shadow Realm after they just unveiled it, and it comes out early 2027, so they are presumably like at the finish line of this game. If you were going to shut down Ninja Theory, why wouldn't you do it after Hellblade 2's flop? Why wait until this is already like almost done to shut it down instead of like let them release the game? Because at least you'd still have a game coming from them. Now you just have nothing to show for it. Again, the biggest problem is they don't have games, and now they've just shut down a studio that does have a big game on the horizon. It just seemed very silly. And Double Fine, they just released a game not long ago. Compulsion just released a game not long ago. Like, it's just... There are studios Microsoft could shut down that I would understand again, because they have so many studios that just aren't making anything. Literally not making anything. And they did overextend when they started gluttonously gobbling up every game development studio on the planet and putting them under Microsoft. Tons of them just coasted and haven't made anything. Why not target some of those that still have nothing to show? Why go after some of these that are actively making games? Even if the games aren't performing up to like the standards you would like to see, it's still better than nothing. And they have a lot of nothing under their umbrella. I just don't get why the crosshair wouldn't be over there. R.I.P. Ninja Theory? What? Wait, what? They just unveiled the new Hellblade. And now they're shutting them down? Compulsion Games, Double Fine, and Arcane are also at risk of getting shut down. Yeah, I see Compulsion and Double Fine here. Arcane too? They were told on a call on Monday, and they've got several other active negotiations about spinning off Compulsion Games and Double Fine. Asha Sharma and Chief Content Officer Matt Booty warning last week of a reset at Xbox, laying out several challenges facing Xbox business, including that it had overextended with its studio system, and the hardware component crisis is significantly driving up prices. It's an actual dumpster fire at Xbox right now. Head of Xbox Game Studio left, and Treyarch Studios head left as well. What? What is going on? Really, I truly am confused by this, because I didn't play Compulsion's last game, which was South of Midnight, and I recognize that they've only released like 3 games in 17 fucking years, so they're extremely slow. But they've still done more than like a bunch of other studios that Xbox still has. So like they did release a game. I don't know how it did like financially, but like the fact they even released a game is infinitely more than you could say for so many of their fucking studios that they haven't axed. And Double Fine, they released a game this year. And they released a game last year as well. And they had Psychonauts 2, which was a super banger in 2021. So like they are cranking games. And I'm pretty sure the 2 games Double Fine has released over the last 2 years, Keeper and Kiln, have been very well received. I don't know how they've done financially, but even still, they are making games. Like, that is what you want from these studios. Like, they are making games, and those were, from what I can tell, pretty well received. Now, I know they haven't, like, officially, put belt to ass on Double Fine and the others, but the fact that it's even on the table just shows that they are really out of touch. They need games. That is the only thing that saves this brand, is games. And you are now going after developers that are providing you games. Again, even if they're not grand salami, super touchdowns, you're still getting games. And in the case of like Double Fine or Ninja Theory, like Ninja Theory games, even though I don't like Hellblade, they are well received. So like you're still getting like high quality games that come out. Why would those be the ones that you would look at here to just get rid of? Especially coming in as a new CEO when you want like hype. Like you want things that'll get people excited. And what gets people excited is more games that are good and high quality. Not the opposite of taking even more games away from an already barren wasteland of a platform. Can't believe you got tricked into thinking Xbox was back. I never said that. I never said Xbox was back, just that Asha was at the very least not driving it more actively into the ground. It was taking steps to steer it in the right direction. And now it's right back to standard Xbox behavior. Is there a way back for Xbox? Games! Games! Make games! The way back is through games that aren't $400 million like Gears E-Day apparently is. People are theorizing that Sinwa trailer was more of a teaser if some other company wants to buy Ninja Theory off of Microsoft. I don't see that happening though, man. I really don't. Like, you might be right, maybe that theory is accurate, but who would step in and buy them in the current climate of AAA gaming? Especially given how Hellblade 1 and 2 performed, right? Like, it just feels like that's cooked, like that's just kind of curtains. I don't know if there's maybe a path forward for Ninja Theory to independently release it. Oh man, I don't know if that mic picked that up, but that was a juicer. But maybe there is. Don't Nod and Quantic Dream also getting layoffs, reduced funding, even reports that Bethesda, BioWare, and id are all in trouble. Looks like it's starting to collapse, man. The crazy, crazy budgets could only last so long. You think this will happen with Gears as well? If Gears E-Day doesn't do fucking record numbers, I bet Coalition gets shut down, yeah. I think it's already set up for failure now that it's completely exclusive and apparently 400 million in the can. So yeah, I think Coalition's definitely next. Why do they shut down studios instead of selling them? Well, I think they'd prefer to sell them if they could, but there's not a lot of buyers. There's only so many buyers. Hasn't Bethesda only made like 2 games in 15 years? Yeah, but Bethesda's like a powerhouse, so when their games release, it's like a safe bet. Even their stinkers like Starfield. I love Kazan and they fired the whole team after. Yeah, we already lamented that, talking about Kazan. Fucking shame, man. Changing gears real quick to the Kazan topic. That one actually hurts my feelings. That is so fucking sad. They made an incredible game, an extraordinary game. Everyone liked it, and they still got taken out behind the barn and put down. Just curtains. Even though they made a game that was universally appreciated. It just straight up feels like there is no winning. Like Battlefield. Battlefield is another great example, the new Battlefield. The most recent Battlefield did really well. Very well received. Huge layoffs. Like, make a good game, get fired. Make a bad game, get fired. Make a game, get fired. Don't make a game, get fired. You don't win in the AAA space in its current iteration. It is not sustainable. It's a fucking bloodbath, and it's filled with like just so many sterile, boring-ass products that you know are doomed for failure, yet they still just put so much money into them for seemingly no reason, and then are surprised when it doesn't work out. I hate to just keep harping on this, but let's look at Marathon. Marathon is a game that today had 1,000 players. 1,000 players in Marathon. A Bungie flagship game. 1,000 players. They just pulled support from Destiny 2. Like, you can still play it, but like no more updates are coming to Destiny 2. It's all in on Marathon. It has 1,000 players. Everyone was saying, and anyone could tell you, that this game never stood a chance to be like a huge staple in gaming as like a live service extraction shooter. They keep chasing these white whales that are just unreasonable, and they're pouring endless clams in it and just suffocating themselves for it, and then end up closing other studios as a result. Like, it's such a disaster. It is such a disaster. These bloated budgets, this mismanagement, it sucks so much, bro. It is so terrible. And it just keeps happening. Like, no lessons are being learned by these higher-ups on the food chain at these massive corporations. They keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. I don't know how many times we need to watch a lower-budget title pop off, blow up, and take the world by storm for them to realize that the future is by having lower-budget games that don't take 8 years to develop and $400 million. It's smaller games from a passionate team that do try and do unique things, not the same standard generic formulaic shit that they keep regurgitating every single time they go around. People are tired of it, and it shows. Like, I just don't know how else to get it through, because they're not picking up the right lessons here. It's such a shame, but anyway, I just wanted to yap about this. That's really about it. So yeah. I am finally all caught up with the latest in the LEGO scandal. So, naturally, want to yap about it. I want to bring you aboard the Magic School Bus here as we take a tour through the newest and the most comprehensive dive into this situation, which is found through CoffeeZilla's video. I highly recommend you watch his full video here because he really gets into the weeds of it and shows everything. He bears it all. Lets the entire Lego scandal hang hog in its birthday suit, and I think it is an incredible job he's done. Per usual, CoffeeZilla investigations, I think, are always just so high quality and just so well done. I want to be covering like a lot of the new information as well as also going over how we got here in the first place, because now, after so much has happened, a lot of people have forgotten what the actual facts are. People are, I think, getting confused or just really fallen into the back rooms here when it comes to like this whole story. So they're regurgitating phony baloney nonsense or even just outright myths, or ghost stories. Reckless Ben's not even real. He's been dead for 15 years type shit. And I think CoffeeZilla does a good job of keeping everything extremely clean, and all of it is real information, evidence, facts. Just the straight up pudding of it.
A $200,000 Lego collection went missing, causing a lot of you to ask me to find it. And after seeing the cops point guns at YouTubers, people get arrested and sued for $1.3 million, I decided enough was enough.
Most people said the same thing after seeing how everything unfolded here with the behavior exhibited by the Bricks and Minifigs side, as well as the very shady behavior from the American Fork Police Department in the handling of this case. So it's no surprise CoffeeZilla also said no more Mr. Nice Guy and decided to get down and dirty and get to the bottom of this.
A massive Star Wars collection was put on consignment at a Lego store called Bricks and Minifigs in Salem, Oregon. Consignment just means the owner, Brian Mansell, gave it to a store to sell, and he was supposed to get a cut when it sold. The entire time, he maintained ownership of the collection, and a social media post estimated it to be worth about $200,000. But then, on November 14th, 2024, everything went wrong. This was the night that Crystal and Ben Gorman, the prior franchise owners of the Salem store, got kicked out by this guy. That is Brandon Best. He and his partner, Josh Johnson, ran a sister store in Eugene, Oregon. And Brandon drove up that night to kick the Gormans out. Brandon and Josh would be taking over the franchise in Salem. And this is the exact moment the Legos go missing. As that store is getting handed over, the question is Brian's collection in it?
A perfect, succinct, previously on Dragon Ball Z lore dump. That is exactly how everything happened and exactly what started this story to begin with, where Brian Mansell had a very valuable collection go into this Bricks and Minifigs on consignment. The previous franchisees get kicked out, and there is a lot of questions around, well, where are the Legos now? Because Brian Mansell, the owner of the Legos, has not been compensated for all the Legos that he had brought there, that presumably had sold as well. And also now Bricks and Minifigs is being like really combative and not super cooperative. So just a lot of like big questions that until CoffeeZilla's video hadn't really had any clear answers with strong supporting evidence and proof that really paints the entire picture clearly on the location of these missing Legos. So the first thing CoffeeZilla looks at is the Bricks and Minifigs official press release where they claim that there is only like $2,000 to $5,000 worth of Legos left there, which is a huge discrepancy based on all of the reporting on how many Legos should have still been there. Coffee then looks at all of the suspects and even toys around with the possibility that this could be someone completely unrelated, like thieves, just regular old Joe Schmo burglars that came in to get their grubby paws on the One Piece here, this extremely valuable Star Wars collection. However, the previous owners, the Gormans, shut that idea down. They admit that they did have break-ins, but at no point were any of the Star Wars Legos, any of Brian Mansell's collection, subjected to that. They were never taken during any of these break-ins, so it wasn't thieves. That is something that gets ruled out pretty early on here. So who has the Legos? Where are they? Does Smog have it and he's just sitting on it like his pile of gold? And it's crazy how this shit can just vanish like that, and no one in a very small, tight group of suspects has any knowledge on where it is. CoffeeZilla even plays around with one of the ideas that maybe Reckless Ben stole it because, as you might recall, the cops came in guns blazing when they arrested them because apparently they had got a tip that the YouTubers in this Airbnb had a conversation about their stolen Legos they have. And also, one of the owners even accused Ben of stealing the Legos when he was melting down, fucking crashing out on a phone call saying, "Fuck you, you stole the Legos, bitch." So CoffeeZilla explores that idea, and it obviously reaches a pretty comically dumb conclusion that there is no world where that happens. That is just barnacles, because Reckless Ben literally couldn't steal them. It actually would have been impossible. He wasn't there that night. He had no connection to the previous franchise owners, had no interaction with like the takeover or anything. He had no chance to even steal the Legos if that was part of a nefarious, dubious plot he was cooking up. Genuinely, it is impossible for him to have been the one to have stolen the Legos. So then, CoffeeZilla, looks at Ammon.
My name is Ammon McNeff. I am the CEO of the Bricks and Minifigs brand.
So my name is Matt McNeff. I'm the COO of Bricks and Minifigs.
The people you just saw are the McNeff brothers. They agreed to speak with me to try to clear their name.
Boy howdy, you can probably already imagine how well this goes. Their defense, not watertight. I am always so impressed by CoffeeZilla's ability to get the star clowns of his investigations to speak directly to him. And every time, without fail, they make fools of themselves. It keeps happening, and I am thankful that it does. I am just always surprised. Now, that being said, Ammon does make a strong point about off-site holding of Brian Mansell's collection, which is something Brian had reiterated on a podcast like a year ago about how his collection was being stored outside of that Bricks and Minifigs location, outside that facility. It was in, a fucking secure black site or something for security, which I think is very odd. That is peculiar. Why? They store the Legos in fucking Fort Knox or something on consignment? That is very weird, if you ask me.
Parts of it seem to go missing on November 14th.
Well, and I guess no, not at all. I'm going to say, that is not accurate at all. Because
So you think that the collection was in the store at the time or elsewhere?
Elsewhere. When you look at Mansell's own words that he reiterated to a podcast last year, he explicitly stated to another podcaster, the sets were moved off-site for security.
The collection will not be stored on site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere.
CoffeeZilla then brings this up directly to the previous owners, the Gormans, about the off-site storage of Brian Mansell's Star Wars Lego collection, asking them to pour a bit of milk on this cereal. What does this all mean? What does it look like? And I think the way they explain it does make more sense about why it was stored off-site for a brief period of time. The way Ammon describes it makes it sound like it was some kind of indefinite thing where they had it buried underground, in like a fallout shelter or something that they were, squatting on there, and it seemed very underhanded and shady, but the way they describe it and like the reason behind it, that also makes sense.
Locations. Can you address what that is? Is that true?
So the off-site location in the letter that that corporate is referring to is the original press release that we released when we were launching the collection. In that press release, because we had previous break-ins, I specifically included the location that after this weekend, those Legos would be stored off-site to deter any future thefts. They were briefly stored off-site after that launch weekend while I bought safes for the back room, and then they were moved back into the store.
Okay, so for most of the time, the sets were in the store after y'all got the safes in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To me, that does pass the smell test. If they are having problems with thieves, Lego City's under attack from ne'er-do-wells, well, now they have this extremely valuable collection that belongs to Brian Mansell's father, and in order to try and keep it safe and secure, they don't have any, safes or anything like that. So, in the interim, while they get those safes, they store it off-site. I get that. Like, I do understand that. And according to them, once they did get those saves, they did bring it back. So it was in the store for the majority of the time. It was only off-site for a little while.
And one group in particular is pointing their finger at them very hard. It's the McNeffs, who say they were behind on payments.
We started getting calls from the landlord letting us know that Crystal was behind on the lease payments at the location. We had also gotten a couple of notices from some of our vendor partners that bills had not been paid by the store. And so we felt pretty strongly that there was going to be a risk of her just, attempting to file bankruptcy, doing some of these other types of things, which we've had franchisees do in the past, and that's problematic. So that's why we sent him up there to take some video footage. So we needed to just be prepared if we needed to do a hostile takeover.
This is not new information from the Bricks and Minifigs side of things about pointing the finger at the Gormans, that they are responsible for all this hoopla. They are the actual bad guys here. They may not have the twirled mustache, but make no mistake, they're the villains. So they are claiming that the Gormans were behind on payments, they weren't doing their due diligence, so there was a fear that there might be bankruptcy, skipping town, this kind of thing. So they actually sent Brandon Best undercover, incognito, to shop around and take video to send to them. And this was before Brandon came in to kick them out. So they were already investigating the Gormans and this shop in particular.
It's a video of the store condition in preparation for this handover, but at this point, Brandon does not announce himself to Crystal Gorman. Later, though, on November 14th, once again, the same concern about the Gorman stealing or theft was expressed by the McNeffs.
Brandon was trying to make sure that they weren't taking things from the store, and so he was kind of trying to make sure that he wasn't putting things, hiding things in the back, and that and while he was watching that, trying to make sure Ben wasn't grabbing stuff from the store and moving it or doing anything along those lines. Because he just got a weird feeling about the whole transition.
She took at least one, if not more than one, cartfuls of things out to her car with her coat draped over it.
Agent 47, Brandon Best here, is undercover, and according to the McNeffs, filming things to make sure everything's above board and that the Gormans aren't stealing things, trying to prevent theft and make sure everything's, above board and as smooth a transition as possible with all the inventory intact without them, making off with it like bandits. The other McNeff that doesn't have a mustache even claims that she was taking cartfuls of items to her car under her coat. How big is her coat? That'd be a fucking massive coat, right? To put an entire cart full of items under it to try and hide it? What is that like a XXXXXXXXL raincoat or something? Like, what the fuck? Is it like that old thing of like 3 kids in a trench coat to buy tickets to a PG-13 movie or some shit? Like, how big of a coat are we talking here to be able to do that? That's a pretty bold claim. And they follow this up by saying that she actually has a history of retail theft. Like, she has a record of, stealing. So she is someone that they don't trust, and they are trying to put doubt into their credibility in the first place here. So it's something that CoffeeZilla explores with the Gormans directly about that. And she does confirm, yeah, that happened in 1999, when she was 19 and pregnant, according to her. And the big thing here is that she allegedly told them about that, which is something McNeff claims they had no clue about.
Kind of their side. But at every turn, I hope you understand, I'm getting contradictory stories, down to if the McNeffs knew about her history in the first place.
They're bringing up something that I told them about.
Wait, you told them?
Told them. They asked me.
They said they had no idea. They said if we knew, we would have never hired her.
Because we would not have hired her had we known this.
I told them I had a record from when I was 18. There was a family issue and didn't go into all of the details, but they were like, that's so long ago, we're going to hire you based on who you are now.
Now, she says that when she told them about it, it was something that happened when she was 18, whereas apparently it actually happened when she was 19. Not that it matters here in the context of this, but it illustrates the contradictions that are being met at every single stage of this investigation in this case overall. From the very beginning, and that's something I've said a lot of what comes out of Bricks and Minifigs has so many contradictions that are easily accessible to just the naked eye, the peepers here. You can just see that a lot of what they have said is contradicted by other evidence out there. And this is just another one of those examples here, because according to Crystal, she let them know, like off rip, that, you know, when she was 18 or I guess 19, she did have this thing on her record here. And after making them aware, they said that was so long ago, which it was fucking 2 decades ago, that it doesn't bother them and that they're, you know, still willing to do business with her. But McNeff is now turning around and saying they had no idea, and if they did know, they would have never done business with her. You know, this huge blemish on her record, she is a scoundrel. Did you know that? Did you know that she has a retail theft charge? Did you know that? We can't trust her. She's a fucking heinous, evil monster. That kind of thing. When apparently, from the very beginning, according to her, she let them know about that. Also, I would think, as a big corporation, keep in mind, Bricks and Minifigs, we have to remember, is a huge corporation. They have a team of lawyers. I would imagine they do a vetting process for people that they go into business with, because I imagine they would want to know if a new franchisee is like a felon who has a history of stealing and shit like that. So there's no doubt in my mind that before they even approved her as a franchisee, they would have seen this on her record, this retail theft charge, and they still did business with her. Like, I just find it hard to believe that they wouldn't have known about that, because I have to imagine there is a thorough process that goes into being a franchisee owner with Bricks and Minifigs. It's a huge corporation. That's kind of standard procedure, like background checks. That would come up. I feel like it's very unlikely that Bricks and Minifigs had no idea about that before starting to do business with her. And if they really had no idea about it, that just goes to show you that they're not really a very well managed company if they're neglecting like one of the most standard steps in business, which is just doing a background check.
Now, after a lot of convincing, both sides agreed to show me the photos, corporate and the Gormans. In fact, I scheduled the calls to do this an hour apart from each other. But let's remember their positions for a second. The Gormans say whatever was left unsold of Brian's collection that was in that store spreadsheet was in Salem store the night of November 14th. Then you have corporate side. They say whatever was left that night was maybe $2,000 to $5,000 of Legos. The rest was either stolen by thieves, the Gormans, or held off site. It was not in that store. And on both sides, there's a lot to lose here, right?
This is where it gets really juicy. And now we do get like hard picture proof. And CoffeeZilla also recognizes the effect this has on the others here, the new franchisees that came in. This is the most important component so far in the video about the location of these sets, and also who is being truthful, who is actually providing real evidence to confirm their account of things and disproving the other. That is a very crucial thing to finally have definitive light shined on.
You'd agree.
There's a good amount of Lego on hand. This isn't what I would say is a well-stocked Bricks and Minifigs, but it's not terrible. It's I would say a little below average as far as overall stock. So now let's go to November 14th. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So November 14th. We haven't this is the first time we've shown this publicly. We've been waiting for our attorneys to give us the approval to say, hey, this is okay now to share in this capacity. So we'll go through these pictures. This is what Josh saw, or not Josh, sorry, Brandon saw. He took pictures of everything in the store, all the inventory in the store. This is what the shelves looked like compared to what you just saw a moment ago.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot less. Just to state the obvious, go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like way less.
So yeah, the pictures I was being shown on November 14th, those shelves looked emptier than they did on the day of October 24th. But to be fair to the Gormans, they addressed the empty shelves themselves.
So starting with the McNeff side of things here, they have these videos from Brandon where he was recording the inside of that location. And in the first video that CoffeeZilla is getting walked through with the McNeffs, it does seem like the shelves are far more full. He does say that it's not like a well-stocked Bricks and Minifigs, it's a little below average, but it's very clearly more full than that video from November 14th, which is the big day. The shelves are noticeably emptier on that day in that video.
As we get to the very end of this video in particular, right here, you'll see that empty space right here. So this is the retired and certified set section that we have to keep separate from the new in box current sets being sold by Lego. All those empty spaces up there were the sets that we had on display during the day from Brian's collection that every night when the store closed, we pulled off and put back into the safe and then put back out in the morning.
So when they say, see, there's empty space on the shelves, yeah, because we put them in safes at night to keep them safe.
Because we have giant windows.
Yeah, it's an explanation that kind of makes sense given the history of burglary. Now,
yeah, that is an explanation that makes a lot of sense. Break-ins happen all the time. Like, look at card shops in particular. There's a break-in every hour at a card shop somewhere. Right now, there's someone probably getting their glass broken in and all their Pokemon cards stolen right out of the fucking display. So they have had a problem with break-ins in the past, so it makes sense that they have it on display during the day when there's people there, and then they take it down at night to put in the safes, so that way thieves can't just see these valuable Legos sitting out there and decide to just throw a brick through the window. But when you have these two videos, it's very easy to spin a narrative that also makes sense. Look, these shelves were full on this day, but on the most important day, the November 14th date, they are noticeably emptier. That must mean foul play. That must indicate that they are stealing these sets. That's the insinuation they're making with those videos. And yeah, you could make that argument, but when you actually hear from the franchisee owners here, the Gormans, their explanation makes sense on why those shelves would be emptier.
My understanding is that he took pictures of everything, and all those photos I showed you of the Star Wars were all the photos, or was literally all the Star Wars inventory in the store.
yeah, the McNeffs say all of the photos should be with Brandon of all the Star Wars items. And to be fair to them, they showed me a lot more pictures and even showed me a spreadsheet of all the Star Wars sets in the store the night Brandon took it over. And it valued to about like $5,000 to $10,000 or so. But then I had to ask. Oh, sorry, here's another kind of set.
Okay.
Do you think y'all have all of these?
Very likely.
Okay.
Again, I'd be surprised if we didn't.
But then I couldn't help myself. I started to bring up some of Crystal's photos to see if they matched up. Have you seen this before?
Not that I recall.
So do you see that?
Yep.
So do you see it's in like some kind of like a safe thing? I don't know if you can see the sides there.
Looks like a bookshelf to me, but sure.
A bookshelf, bro. Be real. We're looking at it. What bookshelf has hinges on the left side of it, presumably to close? Not any bookshelves I'm aware of. Maybe it's not, the craziest most high quality safe, with the giant fucking wheel on it like the vault door you'd find at a bank. But that does definitely appear to be a safe that those Legos are in there in Crystal's pictures. So anyway, McNeff is now saying, and even sent a sheet to CoffeeZilla about what was left in the store from the collection, valued at around like $5,000 to $10,000. And while going through pictures, CoffeeZilla starts showing some of Crystal's pictures as well.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I think the important thing is making sure that all of these are in the inventory for Mansell.
Sure. Sure. That's cool.
75041.
Yep. The Vulture Droid.
75169.
169 I'm not seeing, so there may be... Okay, so there's one that is not on our list.
Let's try this. 10240.
Okay, nope, not seeing that one either.
What about 9493?
3. I don't see that one either. So maybe those were locked at the time, and Brandon did not get those pictures.
You already tried pissing on my head and calling it rain when you looked at a safe and said it looked like a bookshelf. So it's hard to extend the courtesy that this is like an honest mistake about these sets that are in Crystal's photographs not appearing in their records of the inventory there. Like, I can't say for sure if it's by design, like they're omitted on purpose, maliciously or not, but it is hard to extend any level of benefit of the doubt here. They should be there, and the fact they're not is alarming, and it's something Bricks and Minifigs should take seriously. He kind of like brushes past it a little bit, glosses over it, and like, okay, well, maybe this, but like that shouldn't be the response. Like, it should be something that you want to immediately look into a bit more on how this could even happen, this mistake, if it is a mistake.
All right, that's kind of a problem because the Gormans had over 200 photos of this store. I definitely knew looking at these photos, there's a lot more Legos in the Gormans photos, by quite a lot that Brandon's photos just didn't show. But corporate didn't really see it that way.
But still, in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking, again, 10 times the amount of sets here.
I don't know. I haven't shown all the photos yet. I don't know exactly how much.
If there's a calculable figure that we can look at and say, great, this is what was there, I promise you it's not $100,000 worth of Lego. And so where's the rest of it? You got me. I don't know.
Maybe I'm a little too in my head about this U-Haul story. You don't think it could have been some U-Haul thing? There's no way.
So, to me, I believe the Gormans provided significantly more hard evidence with apparently a couple hundred photos showing significantly more Lego sets in the store than Brandon's documentation had and what Bricks and Minifigs is touting. I don't think that's something to just gloss over here. I don't know if McNeff realizes how bad that looks for them. It's hard to chalk that up as some honest-to-God mistake or something like that. Especially when at every turn, McNeff is trying to, like, minimize the amount of Legos with this discrepancy. Like, okay, even if there was some unaccounted for and some wackiness, documentation got cattywampus, it's not 100,000, it's not 10 times. Yeah, you might have a couple hundred photos, but it's not like that much. It's just, it's very fishy behavior. And speaking of fishy, it's about to get real weird with the U-Haul story.
So when Brandon came to the store that night, he was driving a U-Haul truck.
Now, in typical fashion, this was immediately disputed.
Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
But the big reason it mattered to me was because I was actually called by an ex-employee of the Bricks and Minifigs store in Eugene, Oregon. Remember, that's the one that Brandon and Josh owned. And he told me something very interesting.
I'm a former employee, started in 2024, and I was working under the old manager, Brian, and he sold the store to Brandon Best and Josh. Like, oh, Crystal stole Lego sets and bolted out of the country.
Who says that?
Brandon Best told us. When he was jumping up all the Lego sets to us that night. It was a bunch of used Lego sets that were like saran wrap. They had Star Wars CD. They just a lot of stuff. It was like in a medium-sized U-Haul truck.
Wait, they brought a U-Haul truck.
Yeah, from Salem to Eugene.
And to Eugene, and it had a bunch of Star Wars sets on it?
Yeah, Star Wars sets, like everything. A bunch of used stuff, too.
So CoffeeZilla was contacted by a former employee at the Eugene location, which was owned by Brandon and Josh, and he talks about how he watched the Reckless Bin YouTube video, and a lot of like what they were experiencing with on their own started to make sense. And then even talks about how that U-Haul that has been brought up by the Gormans actually arrived at the Eugene store full of Lego sets. Saran wrap Lego sets, Star Wars Lego sets. This is a huge, big claim here. And this is a real former employee. CoffeeZilla did his due diligence, from everything I can tell, to confirm this really is an employee who worked where he said he worked, which was at that Eugene location with Brandon and Josh as the owners. And he is talking about how they had a U-Haul that brought these Lego sets, and they were saying, like, that facility was closed down, shit was, like, haunted. Crystal, big thumbs down, boo, Crystal, we don't like Crystal, boo. She was, like, stealing Legos and stuff. And then he arrives on his chariot here, his U-Haul, with these fucking Star Wars sets. That's big. That is colossal. And Bricks and Minifigs, McNeff there, you can hear him still denying the existence of that U-Haul in the first place. It is heavily disputed, saying he showed up in a rental vehicle, not a U-Haul, explicitly saying not a U-Haul, but the Gormans are saying it's a U-Haul. A former employee at the Eugene location is saying it was a U-Haul. I mean, it sounded like it was a fucking U-Haul to me. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, probably a fucking U-Haul.
Like, if you were to look at the footage, the ring cameras, all that stuff, you won't see a U-Haul sitting anywhere in the parking lot.
So after hearing all of this, I realized, look, I just got to find the evidence. So I start sifting through these photos I have, right? I realize I have a parking lot photo. I check it. No U-Haul, just a red truck out there. I check another photo where you can see the window, but the problem is it's night outside, so you can't see. And so I'm looking at everything I can, and there's just nothing, you know? And I have this alternate angle, I'm looking at that, and then, wait a minute. Zoom in on that photo. Bring up the brightness of this photo a little bit, and my gosh, there's a U-Haul in the parking lot right outside of the store the night of November 14th, 2024.
I mean, is this not CoffeeZilla just reaching over to deliver the scholar's mate here on that claim of no U-Haul? They now have irrefutable evidence of that U-Haul's presence there on that night, which confirms the Gorman's account of things and disproves the Bricks and Minifigs side of things. Now, there was that truck that was there in, like, the footage that CoffeeZilla had access to, but there is also a U-Haul there. So, does Bricks and Minifigs just deny the U-Haul in light of irrefutable proof and try and stick to the story that we now know is inaccurate about no U-Hauls being there, only a truck? Or do they try and feign ignorance like, oh, we were only made aware of that, like, rental truck. We had no clue about this U-Haul scheme here.
This is something that Matt said he had seen footage of, and it couldn't be true.
And again, I believe I have seen footage from that night that shows clearly out into the parking lot, and there's no U-Haul.
After seeing this, I said, I really have to make a call. And that's when the story changed. So last night, I talked with Matt McNeff. I brought up this question of the U-Haul. He told me emphatically there was no U-Haul. Y'all came to me this morning. You said, hey, we looked into it. There actually was a U-Haul there that night. Can you clear up what that's about?
So there's actually two different things that are going on here, just to help you understand.
Bro, I hate the way Ammon talks. I hate the way he conducts himself. His clothes, whack. His mustache, whack. This guy sucks, man. Like, let me just help you understand, actually. So, yeah, there's a U-Haul there. We know you found it. We know you found the evidence of the U-Haul. We're gonna have to change our story a little bit. We're gonna have to tighten the screws a little bit here and try and get something cohesive here, because yeah, that doesn't look good, because we really were strongly saying that there's no U-Haul. So here's the spin. Here's the scoop. And I don't want to torture you with more than necessary Ammon words that he dribbles out. He's basically now spinning this web here that actually this is a big misunderstanding. There's a odd conflation that's going on here about, like, the U-Haul. Like, it's not actually there for, like, this store's inventory. There was a disgruntled former employee, and there was a bit of mishandling of inventory, so now the U-Haul's there for that, something totally separate, and you know, now wires getting crossed, everyone's all over the place. But yeah, does that clear it up? Does that make sense? It really just doesn't make any sense. He's saying that collection that he had brought to the Eugene store was from that other problem that they had, and the employees just misremembering the timeline. Like, those Star Wars sets that he had in that U-Haul didn't come from, you know, this one. It was from something totally separate that he was also just doing it, like, the same time as him investigating the Salem store. He was doing them both. He wears many hats. Jack of all trades. He's very talented. So yeah, he was doing that. And then, when he came back on the 14th, he then starts talking about, like, oh, he had, like, a rental truck and he tried to attach a camper to it, but it just wasn't rated for that. So he thought, oh, crap. Like, this is the story that McNeff is telling. Like, it is quite a tale. It is like a, you know, an epic up there with the Iliad, I'd say. But, like, it's not really making a ton of sense to me.
In anticipation, meaning like a camper trailer, in anticipation of the potential hostile takeover previously.
Is that why he had a U-Haul? Is that the reason he had a U-Haul was for this camper, or what's going on with the?
Yes. So then what happens is he takes his rental vehicle truck, and he tries to connect the trailer, the camping trailer, to that truck, and it's not rated for that particular weight, and he realized, oh crap. He called around and found that U-Haul had a rating for one of their box trucks, and so he grabbed that, went and got it at 10 a.m. on the 14th, and so he then went and hooked that trailer up to the camping trailer to a U-Haul, drove that trailer down to another location where he could set up the camping trailer in Salem, dropped off the camper trailer, and then he arrived in a U-Haul to the Salem store. And then,
what a story, Mark. Fuck me, bro. The amount of and thens, it's like he's writing fan fiction live. I'm taking a peek inside the writer's room here. Like, he's talking about all of this as if he was like a force ghost on this guy's shoulders, like watching him do all of it. Where is this even coming from? Like, this, who would ever do this, by the way? The story he is telling, I can't fathom a human being doing. Like, it's just so messy and sloppy and convoluted. Like, I just don't see a world where this would be a path that someone actually takes. Now, I'll go ahead and spoil that the U-Haul plotline doesn't get us anywhere closer to finding the Legos, but I do think it is important because it illustrates their willingness to change their story or just outright tell a fib. So CoffeeZilla got documentation of that U-Haul. He got photos from Brandon of that night, and there's so much discrepancy there that it literally would be impossible for the story to have gone the way that Ammon is claiming it did. The timing is just not feasible. It literally cannot happen the way in which it's described. So even though the U-Haul doesn't help us solve the mystery Lego here, like CoffeeZilla get to the bottom of it, it just shows to me the willingness for Bricks and Minifigs to just start spinning their fucking wheels about basically anything, and just a complete refusal to like even stick to their own story and their own facts. Like, it's constantly changing with them, and there's always like contradictions that seem to pop up. It is just very shady, I would say. In particular with Ammon's behavior, this guy has a humiliation fetish potentially. He loves to put his face on claims that have contradictory evidence publicly available. So like in this one, he tells this whole story, this novel that he writes here about like the U-Haul to explain it, even after the other McNeff firmly, sternly, with no riddles, no guesswork, no wiggle room, saying there is no U-Haul, that's wrong. Now proven that wasn't true. There is a U-Haul there, and now Ammon's got this massive story cooked up about it. And the story just, like, there's no way it can be true based on everything CoffeeZilla was able to gather from Brandon. Like, the actual documentation. So, like, I don't think there's any world where that's true or a reality, yet he's proudly making that claim, even when it's, like, evidence contradicts it, like, provably contradicts it. That's why it's just so peculiar to me. Like, they keep saying these things and can't even stick to their own story.
First, from corporate, I got the point of sale records from the Salem store from 2023 to 2024. And secondly, from Crystal Gorman, I got her internal records of Brian's inventory of what was sold or not in order to pay him and keep track of prices.
Now CoffeeZilla gets access to some of the bookkeeping here. And he talks about how the original claim of this being a $200,000 Lego collection is just not true. It's highly inaccurate. It was used as marketing buzz online, yes, like from Bricks and Minifigs themselves as their marketing material, like the $200,000 collection, that kind of thing, and that became, the most eye-catching part of this whole story is how much the Legos are worth. But according to all of what is available here, the actual estimated value is calculated to be around $107,000 according to what CoffeeZilla has access to. Still an extremely valuable Lego collection, but that claim is just not accurate about it being $200K. It is still extremely valuable, and that is still an extreme amount of money, but it is important to get things correct. And the correct amount is around $107,000. Which, as CoffeeZilla mentions, is somewhat nebulous because they're not all sold, so you can't really say exactly what the value is because they haven't been paid for, so maybe it could be a little more, maybe a little less, but it is not fair to say it's $200,000. He then talks to Ben about it, about how surprised Ben is because he'd been led to believe it's $200K this whole time. He then talks to the Gormans about it, and Crystal talks about how she initially arrived at that number for the sake of like the press release to be eye-grabbing, but in her spreadsheet, she calculates it around like the 85 to 120K ballpark range, not 200. That was her arriving there off basically like eyeballing it and then putting out the press release about this huge collection that is very valuable that they got their hands on. But as she actually went through the inventory in the spreadsheet, it was closer to that like 100K mark.
It's about $107,000. Now, between 2023 and 2024, the Gormans record sales of about $24,000 of Brian's collection in their inventory tracking list. And of those sales, Brian was entitled to about 65 to 70% of it. He was paid $17,000, which roughly tracks with that. Which means on November 14th, the big night, the remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000.
And this is why having the correct number is important. And it's something CoffeeZilla mentions. If you're going to be trying to locate the missing Legos, you have to know what you're even looking for and how much you're looking for here. Because if it's a $200,000 collection, there is a lot more out there in the fucking wild, out there in the rain and cold, needing to be found. But now that we have the accurate numbers, you can start to more fine-tune the investigation to locate them. So, on the big night here, on Judgment Day, $82,000 worth of Legos should have been in that store. Which is a really big deal because Bricks and Minifigs officially stated that there was only like 2,000 to 5,000 that they located there. And McNeff even said that there's only like 11 to 15K total Star Wars in that location. How is that possible? We have the bookkeeping. There should have been $82,000 worth of Star Wars Lego sets from Brian Mansell's collection there. But according to Bricks and Minifigs and according to McNeff, I don't know why I blanked on his name so hard, fucking McCheeseburger here, according to him, there was only 11 to 15K in total Star Wars there. So that's not adding up. Where is it?
So I went through Crystal's photos myself, which she shared with me, and hired people to go through and hand tag the Star Wars Legos that were in these photos. We looked through over 200 plus photos, multiple videos, and matched what we saw with Brian's collection. In the end, I ended up with about $21,000 of Legos matching Brian's collection that can be proven to be in the store on the night of November 14th. Now, to state the obvious, that's about 3 to 5 times what corporate estimated, at least on their press release. Now, yes, there are inherent errors in these estimates. Maybe we picked up some Lego that matched Brian's collection, but wasn't Brian's. But even though this is a bigger number than corporate said, I have to admit, even with pretty generous assumptions being made, there's still a huge gap of about $61,000 here that I just couldn't find.
I think that was a really clever way of doing things here. He has so many photos from the Gormans here, and he hired a team to go through manually au naturel and tag them. And so that way they could find the valuation of what is provably in the store on that night. And there is still a large amount unaccounted for. Like, yes, of course, give or take, there's some error there in how it was gathered and like what the actual value might be, which he points out. But even still, that is such a good thing to work off of there. Because now you have provable amount of what's in the store and what is still just completely lost in the ether, fucking ghosts out there.
But then I learned Brian had made a special side deal with M&R Productions, who had recently purchased some Legos from him. And this is where it starts to get messy. So these are the pictures that M&R Productions sent me, looking at the Lego that Brian sold him. This was stuff reportedly in storage, and it's interesting because of an early inventory list, which had a column called Location that Crystal used. And it listed a lot of the Star Wars items as being located in what they called storage. Now, previously I was told that all of the stuff in storage was put back in the store, but there's a bunch that's on this list that I can't find in the store that seem to appear in these pictures. Now, I've been assured, by the way, that most of these Legos were not part of the inventory spreadsheet. They were never given to Bricks and Minifigs. This is a separate part of the collection, but I did a check, and 100% of the items that match the Brian collection inventory just so happen to be listed with a location of storage. So this starts to make things incredibly fuzzy, and I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these are part of that same inventory list.
Yeah, I think that's a very natural conclusion to draw from that. And this is a really big thing that I had never heard anything about. This side deal on the Star Wars Legos that were sold to someone else totally outside of all of this commotion, but those sets still appear in that spreadsheet, but they're marked as located in storage, which, as CoffeeZilla points out, storage is something, according to the Gormans, that they had off-site, but would bring back to the store and put in the safes. So, like, it was in their possession still, like, securely locked down. But how could that possibly be true if they have been sold to somebody else, and there are now pictures to confirm it, and it seems like it is all part of that collection? It shouldn't be appearing in the bookkeeping at all in that case. That is super messy. And according to CoffeeZilla's estimates, it comes out to about $15,000 in Lego that isn't missing. We can see where it went. It was sold to somebody else, but in the inventory sheet is still marked in storage, which I believe is very inaccurate to say, and that is quite shady.
Anything. And by the way, before we continue, yes, this was all a lot of work. If you want to, please support us on Patreon. That's how this show gets made.
I wanted to leave that plug in here because CoffeeZilla's work truly is incredible, and I highly recommend everyone go support him in any way you can. His investigations, I think, are among the best, not only on YouTube, but just in general. He really does get to the bottom of his fucking stories in a way that is very rare these days, and I'm always appreciative of his work. Now, the next thing he's looking at is the point of sales records. And in there, he notices that, according to this, $51,000 worth of Brian Mansell's collection was sold. And according to Crystal herself, back in like an earlier talk with Coffee, she even says like $50,000 of the collection was sold. But Brian's only been paid $17,000. What sense does that make? He should be paid more. He is owed more. So where is that? Where has that gone? Who came in and shook that lunch money out of him?
Hey, it was about 50-something thousand.
Yeah.
But Brian was only paid 17,000.
Okay.
And it should have been about double that.
Without seeing any of those records, without seeing those individual tickets, I can't answer that any better.
This is kind of a problem. The math ain't math in here. 65 to 70% of 50,000 is almost double what we believe Brian was paid. And digging into the details, it turns out a lot of these sales come from what Crystal's spreadsheet actually categorizes as layaways, meaning they were marked as having been sold, but layaways are when someone puts a down payment on an item and later pays it off.
I imagine if any of you are familiar with layaways, you just rolled your eyes in a big way. That always ends in a lot of fuzziness, a lot of friction. So now we're starting to see something very new in this story here. So CoffeeZilla has learned that a lot of this comes from layaways.
Worth about $20,000 in layaway. And that felt a little strange to me. And because of that, I asked Josh Johnson, the incoming owner, and he responded, quote, "They're worth 2 to 3 items on layaway when they took over."
Layaway
I haven't gone through and done a count, but I know it was vastly more than 2 to 3.
It was about 98.
That makes sense.
Coffee then tries to wrap his head around this whole huge amount of layaway, and Crystal then explains, like, yeah, it is extremely rare, and she says that she's not even sure they've ever done layaway until this set came in, but then goes on to explain, like, how their layaway worked, where they'd, put the down payment, then make payments over, like, 30 days, and that kind of thing, and that it was just a a big, there was, the way she dove into it was already very much a lot of moving pieces. She even mentions like one set in particular went on layaway 4 times and then eventually got sold. So like this amount of layaway and like the discrepancy between how much layaway, like what Josh is reporting and what is reported on the sheet, like the whole thing with this layaway here is already getting into some really spotty ground that makes it hard to like really nail down what's going on and why. Because it feels like a crazy amount to be doing on layaway, which is something CoffeeZilla mentions as well.
So a lot of these are, see, like look at this, like so like it says POS final sale price, but it's listed as a layaway, but it's sold for $5.99.
Yeah.
Because it matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So were they on layaway? Were they accidentally marked layaway on the spreadsheet? What's going on there?
Our Ewok Village was one of those cases. At some point, he had, I think, like 8 or 9 different items on layaway. So they'd come in and make a payment for a bulk payment. You know, I've got 800 things on layaway. I'm going to make $100 on my payment. One customer in particular would do that, and then when he'd gotten up high enough to pay for one set, we'd pull that set out, mark it as sold.
She states numerous times that without being able to see like the actual sales ticket, she can't really give a great explanation, but she talks about like one of the more complicated layaway experiences they had, like with the Ewok Village, and like you can see where things are getting really muddy through this layaway protocol that they had there. And it's leading to a lot of funky bookkeeping that is making some really odd stuff come to light. And another thing that CoffeeZilla gets into, I think, is a very big one.
But I even found more than that in this POS data. I also found about $10,000 in sales that match Brian's collection that were not marked as sold under this inventory spreadsheet.
Some of our things that were not found were explained by the POS system because they were found in the POS system as being sold. So like they weren't marked on the spreadsheet, but they were marked as sold via the POS system. And this is about $10,000 worth of Lego that basically were matched.
There is a possibility that the consignments were ended when I wasn't at work and I just didn't go through and pull them up. They didn't get put in the consignment ticket. I hadn't gone through those consignments in a couple of months. I hadn't gone through the inventory in the back room in a couple of months. So it is entirely possible there were sales that were finished that I never clocked as being finished. I don't know that without going through and actually seeing it.
But you're saying it's possible stuff was sold, not updated on this inventory list.
It's entirely possible.
Now that is a big stinky whoopsie if things from this collection are being sold and they're not being updated. And Brian is not getting paid because it's not getting updated, so they don't know that it's getting sold in the first place. You can see where we're having a big problem now. This bookkeeping is now seeming to be the most egregious catalyst to where this whole thing started, with this missing Lego collection and him not being properly paid for Legos that may have actually already been sold and aren't even missing. Now, in that audio recording, when Brandon Best came in and kicked them out, she does make a mention that Brandon may not have been paid yet everything that he's owed. That is something that is explicitly mentioned by her. CoffeeZilla also plays the recording where you can hear all of that. I've played it for you a couple times. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And is assured by the man on the phone, who we know is Key, I already forgot how to say his fucking name, that the consignment liability will be taken on by the new franchisees here that are coming in. So Crystal does make a mention that Brian hasn't received everything that he is owed here from all of the sales, but from the bookkeeping here, it looks very messy, so the amount that he was going to get paid from Crystal probably still wouldn't have been accurate, at least not in my opinion. Not based on everything I'm seeing here, because it seems like a lot may have been overlooked, forgotten to be updated, or just lost somewhere along the way in the bookkeeping, which would make it very, very difficult for them to properly compensate him for what they have sold from his collection, either through layaway or through just finishing that consignment there on those. So it was already in a weird spot, but she did recognize that there was money that he was owed and put that on the radar of the new incoming owners.
Maybe you can chalk some of this up to bad record keeping between the U-Haul, the layaways, the $20,000 in Lego sets that corporate called $2,000 to $5,000 that was there that night, the off-book deals. But even if we can't fully know 100%, what these weird things were about, I think they tell a story of what actually happened to Brian's collection. In a way, multiple people, I think, are kind of right, kind of wrong. The Gormans were correct that more of that collection was there that night of the takeover than previously thought. But corporate also alleged that some of it was offsite, and that appears to be partly true, although some of that is disputed, and it looks like, way more of the collection was sold and layawayed than Brian was paid for. But all in all, there's a lot less missing than many people think, especially if your starting number is $200,000.
Very, very, very true. Yeah. After watching this, it is extremely clear that from the very beginning, there was not nearly as much missing as everyone thought going into this story. And yeah, Bricks and Minifigs seems to be liar, liar, plants for hire in a bunch of cases, sure, but their claim about the off-site stuff, yeah, Coffee's right. It does seem like on all available evidence, that is true. Not just off-site and then brought back and put in the safe, but sold off-site, to that other guy, the M&R. And then the Gormans are correct that there were more Legos there than Bricks and Minifigs is saying. And it does look like a lot of this goes back to really terrible record keeping. I don't know whether that's malicious, the Gormans were trying to scrape from the top or try and stiff Brian and take the lion's share for themselves and use underhanded tactics for it, or if it really was just bad bookkeeping because they weren't very good at bookkeeping. It's hard to say for sure. I don't know one way or the other on that, but the layaways and how they kept track of everything is clearly a huge issue that definitely made this situation significantly messier. And according to CoffeeZilla, Brian Mansell is still owed $50,000 to $83,000 by his estimation here in payments that he hasn't received that he should have received in this general ballpark range. That is the most important piece of all of this. A man who's been really wronged on all sides here, it seems, that is still owed this money here from this fucking conundrum.
For Lego he wasn't compensated for. And I think honestly that's something that Bricks and Minifigs obviously should handle and make right. Regardless of what a franchisee does, the new one, the old one, the company behind it must stand behind their product, their service, and I can't imagine a better example of a company doing the opposite. Unfortunately, Bricks and Minifigs has chosen to deflect and dodge responsibility at most opportunities and created a really awful customer experience that has snowballed into this crazy series of events.
That's so fucking right. CoffeeZilla absolutely hitting the bullseye. It's something I've been saying from the very beginning. Even if Bricks and Minifigs at some point along this journey came out and proved everyone was wrong here, at the very core, Brian Mansell is a customer who attempted to use the Bricks and Minifigs service because he believed it was the gold standard and his best bet to sell his father's lifelong Star Wars collection for life-changing money, and through this ended up getting completely shafted. And yes, a lot of it could maybe tie back to the terrible record keeping with the previous owners, but at the end of the day, it is something that Bricks and Minifigs themselves should have been more than willing to make right on their own, because it is still their company, it is their brand. And every step of the way, they villainized Brian. They attacked Brian and refused to make it right without this huge public spectacle putting pressure on them. Now Ammon's singing the whole, let's just all be friends, come grab my arm and we'll square dance type shit. It took a huge, massive avalanche, as CoffeeZilla describes it, to finally get them to even toy with the idea of making it right. But they have nowhere along this path actually wanted to do that, which is why I've said this makes no sense for their business, because who the fuck would want to work with them going forward? Because if you are Brian Mansell in this case, if you're a customer that wants to use Bricks and Minifigs and you're going to sell through them and something goes wrong, they're not on your side. They have proven that they will be actively combative against you and will do everything they can to slap you down for their own self-interest. That is the most glaringly obvious fumble you could ever make as a business. And it's something Bricks and Minifigs still to this day refuses to recognize.
But instead of taking accountability for that, they've taken an aggressive legal strategy, which I told them personally was a horrible idea. As of writing this, Brian Mansell is being sued for $1.3 million as part of a legal campaign against him and Reckless Ben and any of the associates. Remember, Brian is the same guy who lost all these Legos at Bricks and Minifigs store. And I told the CEO and COO that's ridiculous and they should drop this. Look, mistakes have been made by plenty of people here, but there's a lot more people who have inflicted self-owns, the likes of which we've rarely seen, by just choosing the worst possible path at every fork in the road. No pun intended. But the best path to making things right, in my view, is by just making Brian whole and moving on.
Yeah. So as Ammon continues to do his, playing the world's smallest violin for why won't anyone think about Bricks and Minifigs feelings, we just want to make Brian Mansell whole. That's the main thing that we're thinking about over here. We just have him constantly in our thoughts, and we're praying for him, and we want to help him. We want to work with him collaboratively as best friends together. I want to kiss him on the mouth. I want to have a group hug in the shower with Brian and all of our team together as one nude, just going on and on about how their mission is now to help Brian, do everything they can for Brian. And meanwhile, they're actively suing him for $1.3 million, which is why everything Ammon is saying about it just feels so fraudulent, feels so scummy. He is a snake. He's saying that he just wants to help him and make Brian whole again. We want to give him what he's owed, while actively suing him for $1.3 million. CoffeeZill's right. That's a terrible idea. And again, this should show every customer ever in the LEGO community to not work with Bricks and Minifigs. Because Brian's only crime was getting fucked by their business. Yes, their franchisee, the Gormans, definitely played a huge role with how they handled things and making it so messy in the first place. But when he tried to correct course and try and get what he's owed and going through corporate, look at what happened. Look at what's happened. Yes, he went to Reckless Ben as well, where things really popped off. But what other avenues did he have? He couldn't fight them legally. There's even record of a Bricks and Minifigs higher up, someone that's not at the bottom of the food chain, that has a pretty substantial position there, on record, on the phone, even saying that they will just financially bleed them dry, talking to the Gormans. They'll draw it out in court and they'll lose more than they would have ever made should they win. Going the legal route for an ordinary citizen like Brian Mansell is an extremely costly and not actually attainable path. So he tried to do everything in his power to just be paid what he's owed. Be made whole again. Just try and get this resolved. And look at what's happened to him. Bricks and Minifigs is suing him for $1.3 million. I don't blame him for going to Reckless Ben. You can point the finger at Reckless Ben the way he handled it was bad and counterproductive, whatever. But without it, nothing would have changed in Brian's personal situation here. And it's just, I don't know how anyone could possibly defend Bricks and Minifigs' decision to sue him here. $1.3 million? He is a victim of your business. Man, this shit is crazy to me. It is a terrible idea, and they refuse to back down on it. This is why I really just don't think anyone should do business with Bricks and Minifigs going forward. They are not good partners to work with. They are not looking out for you, the person that wants to do business with them. This shit is just ridiculous.
Tried it, they were basically met with, unreasonable requests, things like that. So,
verification? Documentation? Is that unreasonable, do you think?
Well, I think they would say they provided the documentation, and you guys say you need more documentation. So, that's kind of the
right. A spread, I understand, a spreadsheet and a contract are a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never got that. That was never sent to us at corporate, by the way.
Y'all do have the spreadsheet though, yeah? Y'all have the spreadsheet.
That was shared online, but months after we asked for it.
It says it's. I'm so confused. It says I'm on the file right now. It says storage used, owned by BAM Franchising Inc. Owner Salem.or bricksandminifigs.com.
What are you looking at?
It is incredible how Ammon cannot help but put his own dick in his mouth all the time. constantly. So this is like at the end of CoffeeZilla's video now. He's given his thoughts on this whole thing and his conclusions, and he was taking it to the parties involved here. And when talking with Ammon, Ammon's like, oh, we never even got that. Which is just provably false. CoffeeZilla, to his face, proves that they had access to this spreadsheet that he's claiming they didn't have access to until months later. That is a verifiably false statement, Ammon.
It says owner salem.or at bricksandminifigs.com. That's you guys. It says owned by BAM Franchising Inc. It says created September 6, 2024. And when I look at it, this is the Mansell list, I believe.
So this would have been created under so we have the
y'all definitely have this. Y'all have access to this.
Well, I had no idea.
Then you're dumb, Ammon. Then you're just stupid. How about that? You're just an idiot. You're a bumbling imbecile. You're a moron. And yet you continue to say like, oh, they never even provided it. Well, you just don't know then because you're too stupid to know. Like what? Ammon actually boggles my mind, bro. It's crazy.
Like, so if this is the first that anybody has shown me that a spreadsheet was created using like Bricks and Minifigs Salem, like, and all of this stuff was archived. This is the first I've seen that this spreadsheet was created by Crystal, and we don't know how accurate it is, how up to date it was. We don't know a lot of those types of things, and understand. I appreciate you sharing this with us because we had no idea. Again, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't, like, we don't know everything, and we don't go, like, looking in every nook and cranny everywhere, like, we just don't know some of those things. So
then you're a bad business. Then you're just a dog shit business. This isn't a good defense, Ammon. Oh, we just don't know. We just, like, actually don't keep track of any of this shit. Yeah, we just, like, actually have no idea. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't know your own business. Man, wake up. Use your head. You shouldn't be in the position you're in then. How about, like, how does that in any way excuse anything of what's happened here? It's a terrible defense, man. Especially when you keep trying to, like, poke holes in other people's stories when you admittedly don't even keep track of your own shit. You don't even know your own things. You don't even know what you even have access to in the first place. So how can you even be approaching things to talk about them or opine on them, Ammon? Like, you're off your gourd. But yeah, anyway, it was a fantastic investigation that I really do think got to the bottom of most of the meat and potatoes here. At the end, the Gormans also mentioned that they recognize that a lot of this falls on their shoulders for potentially, like, bad bookkeeping, and that they're more than willing to, like, take accountability for that and try and make it right, but they need the tickets from Bricks and Minifigs, which they said they would do, that kind of stuff. All in all, just another banger here from CoffeeZilla, and an incredible investigation, and can only hope that Brian Mansell gets made whole here from Bricks and Minifigs, and they actually pay him what he's owed. They need to make things right, and it starts with making him whole and dropping that fucking lawsuit, you actual imbeciles, man. It's crazy. Anyway, though. Amazing work from CoffeeZilla. Please go support him in any way you can. That's really about it. So, yeah. I just watched something that I still can't believe is real. It's just so painfully pathetic. Last night on stream, there was one guy in chat for like the 2.5 hours I was playing wacky games saying, you've got to check out Ned Fulmer's stand-up. And for some reason, it didn't process what that meant up here. I thought he had made a video called stand-up where he was doing some kind of, like, I don't know, artsy think piece or something reflecting on his infidelity and how cheating affected him. Because all he does now is make videos about how he cheated on his wife and the effect that it's had on him, and like almost going on this like self-pity tour about him being the victim. He even did the podcast where he talked about him cheating directly to her. Just brutal, awful garbage. So I looked it up this morning because it got me curious. No, the stand-up refers to him doing stand-up comedy. And you'll never guess what his material consists of.
Yeah, if you don't know me, don't Google me. I am Ned Fulmer. Oh, that was so uncomfortable. And yeah, I used to be famous at BuzzFeed for trying new things. Then I cheated on my wife turns out that was the one thing I should not have tried that was new.
I swear to God, Ned is like SpongeBob with the ripped pants. He just keeps bringing up one thing, the cheating, and he's making it his whole brand now. He completely torpedoed his whole career because of him cheating, and instead of just moving on and doing something else, he desperately clings to, like, internet shit and has made him being a cheater his whole thing. So now he does, like, a humiliation ritual, you know, terrorizing open mic nights here with this fucking trash. It is, it's incomprehensible to a sane mind. So this video is about him, like, leading up to the stand-up, getting coached on how to do stand-up, and every step of the way he tries to find every excuse to mention him being a cheater. It's not even comedic, it just makes people already rightfully dislike you. Like, they're not even laughing at you, they're not even laughing with you, they're not even laughing, you're just telling them that you're a piece of shit. Like, so the response, he does the exact same routine twice, and the response is always the same. Ha 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 ha. It makes no sense. He talks about cheating like those washed up Peakton high school losers talk about the time they were football quarterback for a single spring season. And ball knowers will recognize that he's literally verbatim repeating something he said on that infamously trash podcast where he was just talking about why he cheated to the woman he cheated on. And he even said this exact thing, line for line, bar for bar, beat for beat of, "Oh yeah, don't Google me. Ha 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 ha." It's so weird. And I think the reason he's doing this is because he wants to just get, like, views off the absurdity of it. He knows no one's, like, in his corner on his side. So he's hoping by playing into it and reminding everyone of it, they'll tune in for the train wreck. And it's not even working. This has 63 likes. I think it had, like, 10,000 views or something. But I've seen, like, a lot of people made videos around it. Like, when I typed in Ned Fulmer stand-up, his was, like, the last one on the first page. So people are, like, pointing at him and throwing tomatoes, but they're never actually trickling back down to his channel because no one wants to see this shit, man. It's so fucking peculiar.
Made me check a lot of the privilege from past experiences being an influencer and stuff. But, you know, I've been practicing self-care lately. Things like crying on the toilet and doom scrolling Tinder. You know, I got very discombobulated in the middle of my set. I got off track, I kind of forgot things. What else? You know, you could say I'm in the middle of a rebrand. You know, I'm embracing my jaded dad bod Ben Affleck back tattoo aesthetic. You know, I'm less daddy and I'm more every other weekend father. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I have a great relationship with my kids.
Bro, this guy's charisma is like my Trump phone. It just doesn't exist. It's actually impressive how devoid of life his speaking is. And that awkward shtick can definitely work for a lot of talented comics. He is neither talented nor a comic. I don't really get what even made him think about doing stand-up in the first place beyond just giving people more ammunition to clown on him. It really might be a fetish for him at this point. I think that's definitely not off the table. These aren't even really jokes. He's not even telling jokes. He's just letting people know that he's a loser. But it's not even in, like, a comedic way where you'd, like, uncomfortably laugh at it. You just are sitting here watching a really weird specimen confess to being a piece of shit. And that's really it.
This experience has aged me. You know, I'm like the... yeah, true. I'm like the Obama before the presidency versus after meme, except instead of killing Osama bin Laden, I killed my brand sponsorship opportunities. Yeah. Right now, the only brands that'll sponsor me are Boner Pills and BetterHelp. Yeah, pretty solid. Yeah, no, actually, BetterHelp rejected me too. My Boner Pills and BetterHelp line, someone heckled, like, "Hey, those are actually pretty good sponsors." I was like, "Oh, this is This is a different crowd.
That's the only actual laugh that he gets throughout the set there when he says the experience aged him. And it's because it's so bad that the people there who are also comics couldn't believe that he even bothered saying that shit. It was so low that they laughed at him for it. And then he goes into like one of his lines about the boner pills and BetterHelp. And then the laughter is gone. Also, one thing that he loves about his set is to assume everyone is just online all the time, so we'll understand like BetterHelp and why that'd be like a joke here because of their reputation. And like he even opens his set about being social media famous. Like he's trying to cater to a specific crowd that is not going to open mic nights in the first place.
I'm just trying to rebuild my life with integrity, one day at a time. And I'm grateful to be here. I'm thankful to you all for having me. And I'm so thankful to Boner Pills and BetterHelp for sponsoring today's set. Thank you so much. Made some friends.
Whoa, a lot of sad dudes get into stand-up after they get a divorce.
Thanks for having me.
Dude,
Thanks for having me. Oh man, that was crazy.
Man.
I got cooked pretty bad.
You got cooked, bro. You're gonna go to therapy tomorrow for this.
No, that's
This is a good PSA for being faithful to your wife, though, this whole experience. Can't keep your dick in your pants. You're gonna wind up bombing in the pool room at a Mexican restaurant. East Hollywood, 10:30 at night.
Just watching Ned Fulmer interact with other human beings is like how an alien would try and talk with us. So like he's thanking the guy for having him there, and the guy's actually giddy. He is giggling hard about how fucking hard Ned just got cooked because it was a disaster for him. And the way that Ned's responding is, it's like inhuman. Like there's almost no real like sentience behind his words. I don't know. Like I never really watched the Try Guys, so I'm not overly familiar with Ned. But like the way he talks with others feels really fake and forced. Like there's no actual humanity or soul behind it. But yeah, the other comics going up there and just insulting him, that made me laugh. And I think it's a legitimate possibility that that's what he's going for here, just being the punching bag to try and soak some clams off the ad revenue from people insulting him and trying to make content out of people making fun of him. So he's always putting himself in these positions for that to be ample opportunities to do so, which I think is just so embarrassing, cringe, pathetic, pitiful, almost. Like it's just, what the fuck is even the point? Like just do something else, man.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ned Fulmer. If you know me, I'm sorry, and if you don't know me, don't Google me. Yeah, I don't know if you know, but I was social media famous at BuzzFeed for trying new things, and then I cheated on my wife. Turns out that was the one thing I really shouldn't have tried new.
So he's doing another open mic night. This time I think it's no comics in the crowd. I think this is just like an audience here to enjoy some stand-up. God rest their souls. They didn't know what they were in store for here. They were held hostage by Ned Fulmer. This shit is more painful than like a fucking ISIS beheading video here. But he does get more laughs this time around. I think it comes from a place of like them trying to be nice. So it's a lot of pity laughs, because I just can't imagine anyone genuinely having like a belly laugh or a hoot and a holler with any of his material.
BuzzFeed, you know, I basically wrote the listicle 10 reasons why having a workplace affair will shatter your marriage and career. Like, subscribe. Yep.
Good one, Ned. Like I said, these aren't even really jokes, and he doesn't even deliver them as such. It almost sounds spiteful. Like it sounds like it's coming from a place of like saltiness about how all of this unfolded, and the way he like does the like, subscribe, like the very animated components there, it reminds me of like back in college when you would have a friend that's had one too many natty lights and they start trying to like tell jokes, but they're really shit at it.
It's led me to stand up, though. Seems like I fit right in. Thank you very much for having me. This real speedrunning my divorced dad telling jokes narrative. I have been trying to make more male friends. That's something I've been working on. It can be hard to make male friends in LA, especially if you don't do things like play pickleball or have a stable relationship.
Is it? I hate LA. It's one of my least favorite places in the country. But this is just like very telling that he's just not a good guy even outside of the cheating, because there are tons of people who have had affairs that still have like an entire circle of friends. This guy, I'm assuming this is coming from a place of honesty, because all he does is be honest about being a fucking cheater and a scumbag. So I'm assuming that he actually is struggling to make male friends. And I'm going to tell you right now, Ned, it's not because you're a cheater. You're just a fucking loser, and you're probably no fun to be around. And like I said, the way he interacts with people, like in his videos that I've seen here, is just really uncomfortable. Like, no one's going to want to be around that. He needs to figure out how to actually exist as a normal person before trying to, like, put together the puzzle pieces on how to be a influencer again, which I think is just a path he should abandon. He should prioritize just being a guy. Just being a decent person, first and foremost. But he's trying to just skip that step and, I guess, speed run his way to divorced dad telling jokes to make money off YouTube, and hopefully that ends up with him having friends too somewhere along the way.
A lot of my friends in the group chat, they're married and they have kids, so the jokes hit different now, you know? My friends, they're like, oh gosh, I would pay any price just to have an hour to myself. And I say, my friends, a price does exist. For a mere 50% of your net worth in crippling loneliness, you may have all the time in the world. Yeah, making friends is tough. Dating as a single parent is tough. You know, it's less tequila soda and more my little soda pop. That's a K-pop Demon Hunters reference. It's a children's movie that I've seen approximately 84 times.
Shit sucks, man. Not much more to say about it. Every single aspect of this sucks. You suck.
I did go on a date with someone who is polyamorous lately. They invited me to meet their boyfriend, actually. I'm like, whoa, this is huge. Meeting the boyfriend? Finally, here's a way to make male friends without having to play pickleball. Thank you so much.
That was his first actual punchline there. I don't think it was a very good one, but it was an actual joke that he told to close out that routine. So maybe we're just seeing him at the genesis of a meteoric rise in the comedy space. You know, maybe he's going to start really finding his stride and find a way to turn his cheating into like the next gut buster, like actual side-splitting comedy routine. Ned Fulmer could be the guy to do it. He's got all the ingredients to create the perfect comic, no doubt.
We did get some fun comments on Instagram once we booked Ned. We did. We did. A lot of people calling for us to punish him. And I thought, he's doing a 6 o'clock clown show at the Elysian Vault. We're doing it.
Yeah, him getting insulted does keep making me giggle. I will say that much at the very least. And like one of the other comics said, it is a very real PSA to not cheat on your wife or be like a fucking scumbag, because you could end up like Ned Fulmer, this loser, just cruising around beclowning himself publicly for what I believe to be a desperate attempt to once again have that social media fame that he once did. again, he starts his routine with reminding people of it. He still keeps posting this kind of shit. And honestly, it does feel like he's even a little bit proud of him being a cheater, because he's made it his whole personality, his whole brand. So it really seems like there is a bit of pride with cheating in his life, I guess. At least that's the perception I take away from this kind of shit. I have no other explanation for that kind of behavior. It's so fucking odd. He is a loser. And he's trying to use that as the springboard to launch his internet career again. It's so fascinating to see. It really is. Anyway, though, I had to yap about this. How could I resist yapping about some shit like this? It's about it. So, yeah. I've only ever done this once before for a film, which was Flow. It's me begging you to go see a specific film in theaters because it deserves to have a really strong run in the cinema. The Furious. I am a massive fan of martial arts movies. I grew up on them. That put hair on my chest. Notably, everything Jackie Chan ever made, basically. We had all of it on VHS. And martial arts films don't come around super often these days, unfortunately, but when they do, they're usually a treat. The Furious is more than a treat. It is a 5-star, full-course dining experience that walked me home, had sex with me, and promised to call me tomorrow. This film was extraordinary. I've often talked about how The Raid Redemption is one of my favorite action movies of all time. I think it is just a bona fide masterpiece. And I would confidently say The Furious is up there in that conversation. And that's not something I do willy-nilly. I don't put that prestige out there lightly. The Furious is that good. So I strongly urge you, if you are a fan of action films, specifically like just good old-fashioned martial arts films, kung fu movies, this is a must-see. The people in my auditorium were going ballistic because it was super hype. And like, I imagine that's probably a universal experience when watching something like this. Like, it is hard not to get invested in hype, like watching it. It is constant action, but it's not just constant action. It does tell a story, and a pretty compelling one at that. It's nothing you haven't seen before in the narrative department. It is a father whose daughter gets kidnapped by human traffickers, and he hunts them down and just starts brutalizing them, just massacring them, and eventually teams up with someone else who gets brought into the fold because he was investigating this human trafficking operation after his wife, who was a reporter, went missing when she was investigating it, and the two team up and they just start collecting scalp here. They blow through like hundreds of goons. Like, there are times where it felt like a Muso, like a video game Muso, like Dynasty Warriors. They're just chopping through countless bodies. It is so good. But yeah, the narrative isn't going to be anything like super new that you are going to be, fucking blown away by when it comes to its story, but it's a good enough story that gives you reasons to care and does a good job of making you care and get invested because it doesn't pull any punches. So it is high stakes. It is intense. And the characters, they do get a lot to do and they do get a lot of fleshing out for the most part. But it's not like anything, unseen or unique in the space. It's just done. It's executed well, which I appreciate. But the star is definitely the fight choreography. Fucking Jiminy Christmas, man. I don't even know how to express it. They were busting out moves I've only seen in Tekken. Like, they were doing some crazy combos. And yeah, it is a little over the top in that regard, but it never, gets to a cartoonish level or, anything where they're, on wires flying around or anything like that. I'm sure there were, some wire moments in here when it came to some of the big hits and, they do kind of fly across, the floor and stuff. But it felt very grounded. It felt like real martial arts that was taken to a absurd degree. It was breathtaking watching these fights. Some of the moves they were doing, I'm not even sure if it was martial arts or some shit out of the Kama Sutra, yet it still ended with some dude's arms and legs broken into 1,000 pieces. Like they'd just been put through a fucking human wood chipper. Shit was crazy, man. There are so many of the moves are on the ground and rolling around and stuff, but you can always tell what's going on. There's one move that the protagonist did multiple times where, like, everyone he fights is also really competent when it comes to their combat as well. So he'll oftentimes be getting overpowered and then like get thrown on the floor and then they're about to like stab him or something. So then he like just starts rolling into them, like actually like fucking somersaulting into them to knock them off guard and fall over him, getting tabletopped. And then he like capitalizes on it like with some elbows and shit and some big kicks. It's so cool. And it's almost never one-on-one. He is always fighting hordes of bad guys. So he's like... This movie is what Dale from Detroit Urban Survival Training thinks he is. Like, he is handling tons of guys, but he's not doing, like, the circle technique or anything. He's just going in there, like, climbing on top of them, hitting them with a hammer, elbow, dropping them the fucking people's elbow right on their skull, collapsing it, concaving their face in, and then going to the next guy, like, crawling all over him and jumping around and scooting around. Bro, I kid you not, one guy unironically busts out that fucking dance move that your drunk uncle uses at the wedding where he spins around on his back on the dance floor. He does that while sliding at someone doing that and kicking his legs out. It's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle move, and he just, like, bowls over a guy. It's so fucking cool. Like... I said it doesn't get cartoonish, but it does get very over the top, but in a way that does still feel grounded and impactful and like meaty. Like I really cannot praise the action and the fight choreography enough. It was so good. It was violent. It was extreme. Fuck. And there was so much in so many different locations. Like, it was constantly moving from new location that's exciting, like a club, or it even, like, some of the places it goes, I do feel are paying homage to some of the action movie greats that came before it. So there are, like, recognizable locations that you can kind of see similar DNA from classics. And they just keep going to these places, beating up more guys. It's so fucking good. Man, it even has some of the actors from the Raid Redemption. I love seeing them in here, so it was really cool to see them again. You can tell how excited I am just having watched the film. I shit you not, as cringe as it is, I came home and I literally started doing some of this shit like I was fucking Wing Chuning a ghost. Like, it's just one of those movies where you watch it and you're like, fuck, that was cool. Wish I could do that. Also, I have to highlight one character in particular. He's introduced early on in the film. He is just this giant dude. He's got to be like 280 pounds. Maybe that's a little much, but he's 250 plus. He's north of 250. And this guy moves like a ballerina. This guy is like fucking busting it wide open on the dance floor, like doing head spins and shit, and jumping all over the place, throwing his body at people. He's doing like handstands and shit, kicking his legs out for drop kicks. He is like the most athletic guy I've seen in a martial arts movie, I think. At his weight, the things he is doing defy physics. He was something special, man. I hope to see him in more films. And if he's been in other films, someone's got to let me know. I've got to see more of that guy's work. Shit was crazy watching him go to town. And he's persistent throughout the movie, and every scene he's in, he is just like a highlight reel, man. He is doing the coolest shit. At his size, it makes no sense how he can even do it. But one thing I do have to mention that I think is going to be immediately clear when you see the film is there's like English dubbing, but it also looks like they English dubbed over what was already English. So like sometimes the characters' mouths are literally mouthing the English that you're hearing, but it's very clearly dubbed, and it has like very old school dub sound to it, which doesn't bother me. I grew up on that kind of stuff with the old Jackie Chan movies, but I know it'll be jarring to people that haven't experienced it before. But I did find it odd because did they need to dub over it if they're already saying it in English? Because it looks like they did. So, like, I'm a little confused on exactly why that was the case. I'm not really sure. It doesn't take anything away from the film in any way, shape, or form. Not for me, at least. I thought it was still great. But yes, because it does have that kind of, like, old dub sound to it, sometimes when there's an emotional beat, the dub doesn't really do it, the utmost justice. So something to mention there. But anyway, I think it is a must-see film. I really do. I had such an incredible time watching The Furious. I highly recommend it. I really, really, really hope this has a strong word of mouth and a good run in the cinema, because it definitely deserves it. This shit slapped. Anyway, that's really about it. So yeah. Not only are you looking at a fun-sized Florida man, you are also gazing upon the only man in America to not receive his Trump phone, it seems. Everyone's getting it. Everyone. It's Johnny Appleseed out here just tossing out the Trump mobile device to all the good boys and girls that have been waiting for it for a year, except me. I'm Squidward in the window watching SpongeBob and Patrick go out there and have fun in the sun. Where's my Trump phone? I'm not getting any emails, so I can't complete the payment to get the phone shipped to me. I'm not getting any kind of communication. I'm hitting a brick wall here. They are sabotaging my order. I want my Trump phone. Damn it. And pardon my French, but I'm getting peeved. I'm gonna say it. It's feeling a little fucked up what they're doing to my order over there, or what they're not doing with it, or treating it like toilet paper. They don't value me as a customer. Now, I've been trying my best to avoid all of the videos like dissecting it and going over the Trump phone, because that's big spoilers for me. I'm treating this shit like the Harry Potter readers treated the Dumbledore stuff. Like, I'm trying to avoid it. I don't want it ruined. But I did see an irresistible coverage of it that I started watching, but I refused to complete because I still want to get that experience fresh when it eventually lands in my paws. But I saw this video here from Snazzy Labs, and I want to show you a little bit about it, because, my God, it is blasted the hype levels through the roof for me watching him go through this. But first, before getting into that, let's go ahead and give my pals at customer service a little ring, because maybe they have more information about where my Trump phone is. Everyone gets to play with their new Trump phone toys, except for me. So I'm calling them again, getting them on the horn, see what's going on.
Press 1 to open a new Trump mobile account. Otherwise, press 2 for support with an existing Trump mobile account.
That's 2. It's always 2.
Thank you for calling Trump Mobile. Your call is very important to us. To ensure the highest level of customer care, this call may be recorded for quality control and training purposes. Please hold, and our next available representative will be with you shortly. You can also visit our website at www.trumpmobile.com to apply for a new account or access your personal account portal.
I feel like I have more calls.
Thank you for calling Trump Mobile. This is Carla. How may I help you?
Hey, I just wanted to check on the status of my Trump phone, see if it's shipped yet.
Okay, I could assist you with that. Could I get your first and last name, please?
Charles White?
Charles White?
Yes.
Okay. So it says that the device assignment process is not yet complete.
What does that mean?
So that means that that the phone has not been shipped out yet, and that we also haven't probably received. Did you ever get the link about the remaining balance of the phone?
No, I was looking for that in spam and trash and everywhere, but I haven't received any emails about it.
Okay, Mr. White. Another way that you can probably look and see if it's there is if you log into your customer portal, and some of our customers also can find it there. If not, then we would just need to maybe do maybe a few weeks or something for the phone to go out. But usually you will be getting a link to to get the rest of the phone paid off.
Okay, yeah, I was just waiting for that email to come through. I thought maybe when it shipped it'd be sent to the inbox, but I haven't got it yet. I can check the portal again, but I tried earlier and that didn't yield any good results on my end.
Okay. I'm gonna check one more thing for you. Can I put you on a brief hold, please?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
At least they got the boner jams back. Last time I called, there was no music. Where's my Trump phone, bro? They don't fuck with me over there, I guess.
So the phones have been being shipped out. It's only a matter of time before you can get that link. So
okay.
We're just waiting for that link, pretty much.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry for that. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Thank you for calling Trump Mobile.
All right. That sounds good. You have a good rest of the day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Fuck! Where's my damn Trump phone, son of a bitch? Oh, gee, Willikers. Holy, bro. Everyone's getting their Trump phone. They're dissecting it. They're playing basketball with it, except me. Bro, I've been in the trenches with this goddamn Trump phone. What in tarnation, man? It's so sad. How am I supposed to make patriotic phone calls without it? All of my phone calls and my text messages have been encrypted with communism, and I need that to change ASAP with the T1 device. I'm compromised. I'm raw dogging the telecommunications world right now without a fucking American blanket over my communications, and it's making me upset. But luckily, the customer service rep assured me basically any day now. Just waiting on my link to come through the old email so I can finish the payment. As for the login portal, I can't get that to work. I genuinely can't get that to work. I don't know how to access that section there to get the payments. It's extremely difficult. I don't know why. I feel like I have more calls to the customer service department at Trump Mobile than I do my own family. It's unreal. And I still don't have the Trump phone, and I don't feel any closer to getting it.
Because everybody with even a passing understanding of electronics and the global supply chain knew the problem on day one. You can't make a smartphone on US soil at any price in 2026. And at $500, you likely couldn't even assemble one here with globally sourced components. And that was really the tell. The phone, it was never the point. Standing up the Trump Mobile brand was. After a year of changing renders and specs and ship dates and being shady to the press, the phone I was sure would never arrive just showed up at my door.
Must be fucking nice, eh, bucko? 'Cause mine hasn't shown up anywhere except in my wet dreams. Damn it, man. But yeah, this is something everyone's talked about since the genesis of Trump Mobile. All of their claims are hooey. Actual hooey. At the price point they were saying, that could never be made on US soil. And like he said, probably not even really assembled here either. The whole thing was very, very fishy from the beginning. And I personally believe that the reason they were able to finally ship out a phone is because the volume of orders is not what they were saying it was, especially after the huge data breach they had, all but confirming that, even giving I don't know what I'm allowed to speak on there, but basically the numbers that were being touted were not accurate. And I think because the number of actual customers was much, 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 much lower, they were able to just basically refurbish an existing phone, tweak it a little bit, and send that to the customer, so that way it wasn't just getting nothing and just letting it be like a lost in the ether type shit.
You see, Trump Mobile posted on X that orders were going out a couple of weeks ago. My order was 421, so I figured I'd be pretty near the front of the line, and I started checking my inbox daily, but I was getting nothing. So I finally dug into the spam folder, even though I'd marked everything from Trump Mobile to come in as priority, and, well, there it was from the day before. An invite telling me that my T1 was ready and that I owed the remaining balance.
So when I saw this, it started to give me hope that maybe it was buried in my spam somewhere, my invitation to the ball. No, it wasn't.
Now, before any MAGA numbnuts fire up the Gmail censors conservatives cannon, this is an own goal of historic stupidity. The first email had its DMARC records configured incorrectly. That's the setting that proves an email came from where it claims to come from, something they teach you on baby's first day of IT admin. I think they figured this out because a few days later, a corrected follow-up arrived, but it still landed in spam. Why? Well, because it authenticated against info.americafirst-patriots.com instead of trumpmobile.com, a hallmark of phishing. It went out over bulk blast infrastructure, a hallmark of phishing. It screamed at you to pay now, a hallmark of phishing, and ran every link through a tracking redirect, a hallmark of phishing. Gmail just did exactly what it was designed to do, put the most likely trash in the trash.
Trash? Well, I never. Doesn't sound like trash to me. So what if it had all the telltale signs of phishing. What's wrong with that? Getting a little upset now that a phone company gets a little motion, wants to, hose you down for a little bit of clams? I don't see the issue. I think this is a Gmail blunder here. I wouldn't be surprised if Gmail finds itself at the ass end of a lawsuit here in a moment.
But I found it, so I clicked through, and I can't log in. And I know my credentials are right because I use a password manager, but figuring maybe they rehashed everything after the data leak, I go to reset the password, I create a new one, that all happens successfully, but then I meet the login flow, surely built by the lowest bidder 11 time zones away, username and password, then there's a consent box, and then a two-factor field below it, and the code that it is alleged to have emailed me, yeah, it's not. It's not in my spam, it's not in my inbox, it's not in all mail, it does not exist. The two-factor code that Trump Mobile swears it sent me simply does not and will never exist. Which I guess leaves me one option, the one thing that no human being wants to do in 2026.
I had the same fucking problem with trying to log in. So, seeing this showed me I'm not alone. There's dozens of us, dozens of customers that can't log in. Because it doesn't fucking work at all. Oh my goodness. I don't even know how you ruin that. I didn't even know, like, that's boilerplate shit for like websites, right? Like, that is something that's existed for actual decades without issue, and somehow Trump Mobile found a way to fuck it up. That's actually impressive. Like, genuinely impressive to somehow blunder that. Because I thought maybe it was like some problem when setting up my account or whatever, but he's talking about it here in the video as well. So it just doesn't work. His solution was calling customer service to push it through the finish line that way, which, I mean, me and the Trump Mobile customer support team, we're like this. We are tight. We're like family over there, but I figured they're probably a little exhausted hearing from me, and they did say on the phone that, it should be coming to my inbox at some point. And I am well aware that I'm not in like the first wave of buyers. He was definitely way before me. So I'm going to give it a little bit, a little refractory period here. And hopefully it'll semi-chub itself back up and I'll be in that wave like the next time they come around. But if not, then I'll do the same path here following his tutorial, going through customer service to try and push it through that way. And we'll see how that goes. But for now, I'll just leave it where it is and just continue to patiently wait.
I enter my card number, I agree to payment terms, but I do not click the marketing opt-in to which, quote, consent is not a condition of any purchase, end quote. And yet, it totally is. This field is required or they will not let you buy the phone. I don't even care anymore. They leaked all my data out to the internet, whatever. I click the button and, oh, well, look at that. A text message from Chase flagging a transaction from TMI Hardware as potentially fraudulent.
It is so fucking interesting how every single step of trying to get a Trump phone is miserable, and half of the shit that they show, like on what you need to do and like when it's coming and all that, is just wrong. So like here, it even says you don't have to consent to that, and then when he tries to, finish the page, it turns out he does actually have to, which is just a classic when it comes to this, where it says something and then immediately contradicts itself, like right afterwards. Like, they can't even get their own information correct on a single page or a single step.
I cannot wait to open this because this is already amateur hour. I tore part of the label off because I thought this was from eBay because, well, it was dropped off at a UPS store in person by hand, which nobody's doing if they're doing volume. And then also the label is cut out of paper that they printed on like an inkjet printer. It gets even better because they told me that they were going to ship a SIM card with the package, but look at this. I received a handwritten letter, hand-addressed envelope that I thought was a birthday card because, like, what else would it be? Nope. It's my Trump Mobile SIM card. This is the 47 plan. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so this makes it painfully clear, even without the data breach information that came to light through that their claim of 600,000 pre-orders for the Trump phone is complete barnacles. There is no world where they would be shipping like this if it's 600,000 customers. You don't need to be a genius to see that. Like, just think about that for a second. How would they even go about dropping off by hand 600,000 of these puppies at the UPS store? And also, a fucking handwritten envelope that does look like a birthday card that they're shipping to each customer as well. They're not doing that if it's 600,000 or so pre-orders. That is something they can only do if it's significantly lower volume, like a not huge amount of customers. So I think just in the way that he received his Trump phone immediately paints the obvious picture that they didn't have that many pre-orders. Shit is turbo goofy, man. They ship the Trump phone like it's an Etsy order, where you're like, it's an individual handling each of these. It's so odd. Like, I already had very low expectations on how all this would be, like the fucking circus here, but I couldn't have expected that. Now, like I said, I really didn't want any spoilers, but I couldn't resist at least seeing the process here and everything that he was going through.
Protective case inside lid. T1 quick start guide. This is printer paper. This is printer paper, and look at the toner. They're running out of toner. This was literally printed on an inkjet printer. Look how pixelated the flag is over here. They ran out of ink near the end. T1 quick start guide. And here's my packing slip. Was this typed out on Microsoft Word? What is this? Oh my gosh. This is great. And there's another SIM card. Proudly assembled in the USA. Are you sure? What does assembly mean? We put it in the box with the micro USB cable?
Yes. That is likely exactly what the claim means. Proudly assembled here. We put the box together. Yeehaw. That's proudly American, as they say on the Trump mobile website. But yeah, it's just so silly to see everything about this come to fruition. Like, it's actually worse than I would have thought. And I already thought it was going to be bad, but it is a joke. It is a complete joke that costs hundreds of dollars to have played on you. Man, that's really something.
Wow, it is ugly. And look at that. I haven't touched the back of the phone yet, but there's a little fingerprint on there. That is a little fingerprint. See that next to the second camera lens? I wonder if it's from the little kid that had to assemble this in the USA. Bad joke. Okay, so the color is just not consistent anywhere. This could maybe kind of be gold, though it is pretty yellow. But the plastic surrounding the camera rings and this little thing, like, it's just straight up. No, those are even different. And I've got some gold-plated golf balls right here. They were $50 on Amazon, which is pretty outrageous, like 13 bucks a piece. And I don't think they're Pro V1Xs. So I think most of the cost is in the gold. But these are legitimately gold-plated, and the surface area of these balls is way higher than what this phone would be. And, 50 bucks. So if you're paying $500 for this phone, why not just make it legitimately gold? At least that would be kind of cool, because do these things look similar to you at all?
I had to stop the video here. I couldn't keep watching. I couldn't stomach more spoilers, but I had to at least look at it. It is cheddar cheese yellow. That shit ain't gold at all. I thought it was very nice to demonstrate just how not gold it is by showing the gold golf ball next to it. I highly recommend you go check out the rest of his video if you want to see him go through the phone in detail. I couldn't. I would not allow myself to, because I want that experience fresh firsthand for myself. But I saw in the chapters that he does go through a lot of it. One of the chapters towards the end talks about spying, apparently, which, man, I cannot wait. I don't know exactly what it means in the context of this phone, but it's something I'm going to try and pay close attention to should mine ever actually arrive. I'm very excited, even more so now, to finally get this fucking phone, bro. Great job from Snazzy Lab. And yeah, that's really about it. See ya. I ate a Brillo pad once when I was a kid. Went into the cupboard and just chowed down on it. If you don't know what Brillo pads are, they're little steel wool pads with soap on them. So I was basically the first Tide Pod eater, the patient zero. You didn't know that? My mom didn't tell you? That's weird. Thought you two were close. Speaking of eating, though, I did see that a food review YouTuber got into a bit of a tiff at a deli when he was reviewing a sandwich when another patron started chirping. and expressing some very strong feelings about what he was doing. And this interaction blew up online. Apparently on TikTok, that shit went double platinum. Even the full uncut version on his channel, UA Eats, has like over 3 million views. And I think it's because in instances like this, usually it's the YouTuber that's the fool, the jester that everyone doesn't respect and they look like big assholes. Because it is very easy to dislike streamers and YouTubers because in a lot of cases they're like disruptive or being a nuisance to the people around them. Something I talk about a lot is how they treat others in public as like their little props to exploit for their content. But in this case, the food reviewer, UA Eats, I think was very much in the right. And the guy that was, squealing at him was the big asshole.
Oh man,
I really want to enjoy my food, and you can stop doing that.
I'm allowed. I was here first.
Do whatever you want. Right?
I was here first. I was here first. What's the difference between me doing this and talking to someone next to me?
Don't worry. I'm gonna put on some music for you now.
All right, go ahead. I asked the people around me. They said it's fine. You came. I was here first.
It's a public place.
Yeah, so I'm here. I'm allowed to talk. If I were talking on the phone, would that be different? There you go.
Dude put him in the scholar's mate right there. He just popped over his king there when he made the comparison. If I was talking on my phone, would it be any different? Goober had no response. That was crickets right there. But then his girlfriend said it'd be equally as annoying, which desperately fishing for something to respond with when she knows that's not true, because you can literally hear other people in the deli talking to each other or potentially talking on the phone. So how would him being on the phone be equally as annoying unless he was being really loud? Which, if he was, I would be more understanding of, but he wasn't, and you'll see that here in a moment. So he is just trying to review this sandwich here, and this couple sits down right next to him and instantly expresses that they don't like what he's doing and they want him to stop. And he's saying, look, man, I was here first. I could do this. I can review this. And he's like, oh, okay. I'll put on some music then. So he was going with the Galaxy Brain strategy of playing DMCA music to try and get the video demonetized for him. So he's like somewhat savvy to online behavior because that is something you can do, and it does butt fuck whoever's like recording there because then they can't make money off the ad revenue. Well, I mean, to a certain extent, they could like edit around it or like erase the song with like the YouTube editing tool, but it does become like a headache for them. So that is a real strategy that sometimes people employ. He never actually plays the music. It was more of just like a empty threat of doing so. But regardless, it's such an unnecessary interaction because they chose to sit next to him there when there were other spots available, according to everyone else that comes into this here. And initially I thought this might have been staged for the sake of like a viral video to help blow up his channel. But as I was fishing around, it doesn't seem like he'd be the kind of guy to do that. He just seems like a normal, laid-back kind of guy. So I'd be really shocked if this was staged.
But people are talking over there. I was here first. If you don't like it, you can move up to the other side of the table. All right, that's what I thought. Come on. All right. All right. So, anyways.
I was talking about this. It's pretty awesome, isn't it? Nobody likes
all right. So, anyways, let's try the sandwich here.
I hope you have a day job.
I do have a day job. This is my day job.
This is a very empty day job, if I would say.
This is my day job. This is my day job. This is what I do. I came here to Chicago just for this.
It's pretty empty.
What is your day job? Let me ask. What is your day job?
I don't have a job.
You don't have a job?
No.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you're going to lecture me about a job when you don't even have one yourself?
My cheeks were getting red when he said, I don't have a job. So he wanted to try to go down that route here in the dialogue tree, but has no job himself. Quite a tactic. That is one hell of a maneuver there, bud. So he, when he's reviewing the sandwich, he's not being loud. Nobody else is in the shot. It is just him. If he was like showing the rest of the restaurant, like without their permission or anything, that'd be one thing. Like if they sat down and now all of a sudden they're part of the content without their consent, I would get that. That's not the case. And before they sat down, he asked the other people around if it was okay. He got their permission to film here at Mr. Beef, which is, I mean, that's kind of a banger name for a spot, especially for something like this to start spawning like an actual beef here between customers over him just reviewing a fucking sandwich pretty tamely. Like he's not being bombastic or anything. He's not standing on the table fucking hitting TikTok dances or the cyber goth or something, or shaking it all around. Like, he's just hanging out and giving his thoughts on a fucking sandwich, and this guy has such a huge issue with it. And then he's calling it like a really empty day job. That's cool, brother. I'm sure he was really asking for your perspective on his work, especially from someone as educated on employment as you are, clearly. Like, what the fuck, man? You can not like what he does for a living, but why make a big issue out of it? Like, I don't understand. It's completely useless. You look like a fool. You look like an absolute clown, and I can't even see you, but I can actually hear what your face most likely looks like, and it's a big old fucking frown and a bunch of misery.
All right, so you just walk around telling people what they can do, what they can say, and what they can't? Absolutely. All right, great. Awesome. All right, would you let me do my job then? I'll eat, I'll leave, then you guys can enjoy. Yeah. Sound good?
Why don't you go outside and do this?
Because I'm in a public place. You said so yourself. I'm in a public place. I'm allowed to do this. I asked the people around me. They said it's fine. I was here first. If you don't like it, you should go outside. I'm allowed to do this.
What's that? No, it's okay.
All right. Let's give this a try.
That beefy boy sandwich don't mean shit right now. That's not the star of the show anymore. Now it's a battle between UA Eats and this stranger who's now come in here slinging his meat. And let me tell you something. That shit is raw and it is tiny. So he's now saying, why don't you go outside and do this? But as UA Eats says, why don't you go outside? Like, he was there first. He was already talking to the camera when they chose to sit next to him at those seats. Why do that then? Just either go to the other side where you can't really hear him, or eat outside like you just said he should do. Why do you waltz in there, sit down, and then say, all right, now you have to leave because we're here now? That's some cringe, stupid brain shit, bro. That is embarrassing garbage.
You know, it's pretty good. It's very, very juicy. I think I probably feel like maybe I'm comparing it too much to Al's when I came here a few years ago to Chicago. I think that the flavor could be a little bit stronger. Like the other things they put in,
The Saint was gracious enough to let him continue with his sandwich review for a little bit there. And it's pretty clear this guy is not disruptive at all. He's talking very normally, like a normal volume. He's not being, a nuisance or anything like that. If I was sitting next to this guy at that deli, I probably wouldn't even fucking hear him with everyone else talking as well. So this guy has gone out of his way to be an asshole to him. Like, it blows my mind how people like that just go through life with that kind of chip on their shoulder, just looking for issues to get angry about, get all fucking steamed up for. Why? Like, you don't like what he does, and that's fine. You don't have to. Like, not everyone's gonna want to see a food review. Like, it is what it is. But also, most people should have the brain capacity to recognize that it's not that serious, that you need to start, getting combative with the guy over it. And then he starts to, physically threaten him here in a moment, all just because he's trying to review a sandwich next to you, and you chose to sit next to him. Like, come on, man. You're a loser.
You're running out of work.
Oh, I have a great job. I have a great job. I make six figures. Oh, yeah, I'm here. I come here and I complain about other people eating their lunch. Yeah. I don't have a job myself, but I complain about other people. Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Other people were there first, and I tell them that they have to leave because they were there first because I want them to leave because I don't give a shit. All that matters is that I get what I want. I get what I want. That's all you get. That's all you got. Oh, that's great.
I didn't come here to hear a lecture, man.
You started it. You started it. You started it. Sit over there. You'll be further. I'll be done in literally 3 minutes.
I love that line from that douchebag. I didn't come here to hear a lecture. You started the lecture, professor. You're the one that brought it here and started lecturing him. Like, what are you talking about, man? So he kept mocking UA Eats, so UA Eats started mocking him back. And that's when it starts to bubble over a little bit. He slams his drink down, his fucking Diet Dr. Kelp. He slams it on the table, and now he threatens him.
You're gonna keep going. You're gonna be sorry.
gonna be very sorry.
You're threatening me?
I'm doing exactly what I'm doing. Because you have to up, and let everyone eat in peace, or can get the out of here.
They said I could sit here.
Don't speak for everyone. He asked.
I asked everybody. They were here.
Tried to move close to him when you could have sat somewhere else.
There was nothing going on
He
at that
wasn't
point.
speaking when we first sat
I
down.
have a right.
I was speaking before. I was. I was speaking.
Watch out, no more Mr. Nice Guy. You keep talking all that crud, he's gonna right in the kisser. He sounds like fucking Dino Spumoni from Hey Arnold. Like, he is just not intimidating at all, just from like the sound of his voice and the way he's like carrying himself. I really respect that the YouTuber UA Eats is just standing his ground. He's not letting him just waltz all over him. I think UA Eats is in the right and this guy's a piece of shit. And now, during his threats, another patron here in the deli comes forward and says, don't speak for all of us, he asked. And then points out again that they chose to sit there. And then they said, oh, he wasn't yapping then. But apparently, even according to the lady that came up, he was. So, like, he was already actively doing these reviews, and they still chose to sit there and then get upset about it.
The world doesn't have to be under. But you know what? I have a right to sit here in peace and eat.
I have a right to sit.
Yelling about food.
I have this right to sit here. It's a public place.
Public spot, so I get to do what I do as well. Okay, same exact way.
Your rules don't apply to a public space.
And his rules don't apply to me.
And
You want to
decide
stand up
that
for
it's a
something,
public
right? Don't stand up for that.
It's not public space. This is a private business.
This is a private.
But you're not the owner. No, I'm just telling you.
This is a public place. He said so himself.
Listen, she's a lawyer and I'm a surgeon. Okay?
Yeah, I thought you said you didn't have a job.
Yeah, because it's not for you to know what I do.
All right.
Okay? It's
All right.
not for you to know what I do.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Believe me.
All right.
I actually do something for a living.
All right. Wonderful.
Wonderful, yeah.
Wonderful.
Hope you catch up with that.
All right. Wonderful. All right.
Unemployed guy all of a sudden got promoted to surgeon there throughout the course of this argument. That's incredible. Wow, what a come up. He's pulling that out of his ass. He's not a surgeon. We all know you're not a surgeon, man. You backed yourself into a corner with that whole day job shit and you look real stupid and silly, so now you're just grasping at like a respectable career. You're not a surgeon. Maybe his girlfriend's a lawyer. I don't know. Who's to say? There's really no telling. She only said like 3 words in between this guy's tantrum. Anyway, they do leave after that and go somewhere else to terrorize some other innocent people at whatever other diner feels their wrath. And then UA Eats has like a brief conversation with the individual that, stood up with him against those assholes. And that was pretty wholesome. But yeah, this kind of interaction is always so peculiar to me because there are a lot of cases where a streamer or YouTuber is very much in the wrong in public spaces and the behavior that they're exhibiting around others. And it's very easy to see that. This is one of the very few cases where that's just not what happened. Like in this instance, the YouTuber did nothing wrong, got permission from everyone there apparently to do that, was not being loud, disruptive, or filming anyone without their permission, not showing anyone. Even during this argument, he didn't even turn the camera so we could see this douchebag, which in a lot of cases, most other YouTubers probably would to show you, look at this asshole, can you believe this shit? He didn't even do that. This was a very strong class act from this guy. Yeah, he mocked him a little bit, which he absolutely should. This guy was being a child. And he stood his ground, which he absolutely should because this guy was being a fucking loser. So I think he did everything right in the way that he handled himself here. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to yap about this a little bit. That's it. Yep. Now, I know when it comes to predictions, there are only a handful of people worse than I am at it. I have this unfathomable mutation where if I say something, it instantly manifests the opposite into reality. But when it comes to sports, I'm pretty solid at predictions, actually. Setting aside my March Madness brackets, which are genuinely sinful with how terrible they are. I know the Lord's up there disappointed every time I fill one of those puppies out. When it comes to the NBA, I'm a fucking sharpshooter, man. I'm pinning the tail on the donkey every time, basically, with the predictions. I said the Knicks were going to take it over the Spurs, and they did. And I think a lot of people were expecting pandemonium and chaos in the streets of New York if that was to happen. They were also right. You didn't have to be Nostradamus to see that coming, but damn, New York City got turned into fucking Gotham last night. Apparently there have been 63 people arrested, 4 stabbings, and 1 shooting following the championship win. So Jalen Brunson dropped a 40-burger, and the Citizens were actually tickling a double-double of their own there. Dropping 63? Holy shit. Even outside of the game, New York was putting up numbers.
Check.
Let's go. I'll never understand that kind of celebration where you're so happy that you start riding, and then I guess Yosemite Sam starts firing into the air really excited. That's just so peculiar to turn something like positive and exciting into just fucking madness for no reason. And it's not exclusive to New York or anything. Granted, New York is on like the upper level of chaos following the big win, but it seems like this happens like every time, no matter who wins. It just devolves into lunacy. But the videos coming out of New York are wild. It was a bad day to be a school bus. You hate to see a championship come home if you're a school bus, bro. They were beating the devil out of them. So, like, that guy was rolling up with his Razor scooter, and he was just chipping away at it. I thought he had a diamond pickaxe in his hand at first, but no, it was just his scooter, and he's blasting that bitch with it. And knocks the front end off of it. So apparently the school buses were there because they were shuttling people back and forth. And the owner of this bus actually came out to try and, like, stop them and let them know, like, this is coming out of my paycheck. You are just hurting me. Stop, please.
I know, we ain't trying to do that. Y'all fucking on my check. You're coming on my paycheck. You're coming on my paycheck. You're coming on my check. Y'all know what's coming on my check. Fuck up, bro.
I really felt bad for the guy because he is rightfully panicking, like, please stop, this is really detrimental to me here. And I bet he was very excited that they won the championship, and now his bus is just getting blasted.
Set the bus on fire! Knicks and Bowie champion, yard!
They eventually sacrificed one of the school buses here. They blew it up. They lit it on fire like it was part of some kind of ritual. And I fucking hate losers like this. He, like, pog faces. We're champions! That kind of thing. Like, what does blowing up this guy's bus have to do with winning and being happy? That just super sucks. That's actual brain-dead lobotomite behavior. Now, I don't know if that's the same bus. I don't know if it's the same guy's bus, but there was a lot of buses there that were really getting it rough. And it seems like the bus drivers are the ones that are on the hook for it, even though from what I've read, the reason they're there is because of, like, shuttling fans back and forth, and then this happens to it. And there's like a ton of videos, like a bunch of cars, like just people's cars getting busted up, a lot of fighting. I didn't see any videos of like the stabbings or anything, but yeah, just chaos, complete chaos. Now I want to talk about the game itself, because man, oh man, what a game. This whole series was crazy because the Spurs led by double digits in every single game. Every game the Knicks had to come back, and they made history with their comebacks, especially in game 4, which I already made a video covering with the De'Aaron Fox super show. Like, I have a feeling Jalen Brunson's getting himself a fucking statue in New York. De'Aaron Fox needs one too. He was the secret sixth man on the court for the Knicks, bro. I have never seen a back-to-back butthole performance quite like De'Aaron Fox put up in game 4 and 5. Like, yes, he had the most obvious, super stupid collapse in game 4 where he, on the breakaway, went for a layup with 12 seconds left instead of just dribbling out the clock and taking free throws on the foul, which does end up costing them the game. But he made so many other mistakes in that game. And then in game 5, he comes in with that same lack of momentum, but the fearlessness to keep embarrassing himself, like actual humiliation type fetish shit. He went, 3 for 15, 1 for 8 from the 3, and also just a turnover specialist. And they still kept him out on the floor the whole time, bro. The Knicks need to be giving that man his flowers, because De'Aaron Fox was doing everything he could to help them. But yeah, throughout the whole series, the Spurs dominated, like, going into the second half, and the Knicks always mounted super impressive comebacks. Like I said, I predicted the Knicks to win the championship. I thought they were going to do it in dominant fashion, but it was actually the Spurs that came out slapping every single time and then just petering out, falling off. And I really think you can point the finger at coaching here for a good chunk of it, because why are you throwing up so many threes in the second half with such a sizable lead, leaving the door wide open for the Knicks comebacks? Like, they're just giving them all the possible ingredients to get back into the game for this. Like, I don't get it. Like, they'll shoot the lights out in the first half, not so much in game 5, obviously. They were looking real rough there. Big shout out De'Aaron Fox. But in the second half, every time, they still love to just keep throwing up these threes, even when they're cold as fuck. And they just never stop. Like, Wemby completely stops trying to drive in the second half of game 5. I can count on one hand the amount of times he even tried to get a look in the paint. He's more than content to throw up a 3 or a contested mid-range instead of, like, actually passing the ball around, trying to work it in, get penetration. Like, they are so content with a lead to just throw up a 3, maybe after a pass, maybe dribble kick out, and then a 3. And they're not hitting them, and you already have a lead. It's such an interesting, bad game plan. So while the Knicks are extremely resilient and extremely talented, I think a lot of what happened was the Spurs beating themselves. Like, legitimately, they just loved choking. They loved it. They were really a big fan of that. Now, going into the series, I actually said for a long time, I like Wembanyama. And against OKC, I was very heavily pulling for the Spurs because I just do not like the Thunder. But man, it was hard to be a Wemby fan in this series, bro. The interviews, the after-action reports, and his on-court behavior, just like shoving Brunson for no reason, attempting to flop. Like, I don't know, man. I did not like the way Wemby played ball in the finals here. I really didn't. It was disappointing to see. I still like Harper. I still think Harper is kind of the truth on that team. I think he is a superstar. But man, watching Wemby play was a little rough in this series. I like Jalen Brunson a lot, and I was very happy to see the Knicks win overall. I think they deserved it. I think they played incredible. And Brunson was awe-inspiring. And now I've got to yap about De'Aaron Fox, man. I like De'Aaron Fox. It was very hard to watch De'Aaron Fox in the game 5, man. I liked him when he was on the Kings. Him going to the Spurs was hype. I liked him against the Thunder. What the fuck is he doing in the last week, bro? He got hit with the stupid beam. I don't know what happened. Someone must have slipped the orb of confusion into his bag. What did I watch? Like, the flagrant, and then he's even trying to argue, like, you could see him argue with the ref after the flagrant, he's where he pushes from behind. He's like, it wasn't this, it was this. As if a shove from behind, not playing the ball, is somehow like okay if it's not a full extension and it's just one of these, like a shoulder check, like he's playing hockey. Just what are you doing, man? Like, actually. Oh, and the shot selection from him makes no sense. He really, 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 I think, wanted to come out there and like make up for what happened in Game 4, but he continued to have the cheese touch. And again, this ties back to coaching. Why leave De'Aaron Fox on the floor when he's playing that stinky? I think they would have been better off letting it get into Castle's hands, let him take it up the floor, and let him and Harper go to work, because Harper was fucking cooking, man. And yes, Castle wasn't having a good game. He also had a very bad game. I know it's not just the De'Aaron Fox blunder show or anything. I get that. But I still really think that at least with Castle taking it up the floor, I think the odds of the ball ending up in Harper's hands, who is hot right now, is significantly higher than De'Aaron Fox bringing it up the floor and just settling for a fucking dog shit look. I think it's because of it being De'Aaron Fox, and he is the veteran, but the veteran is the one making the most mistakes on the squad by far. He is detrimental. So why not check him out and put him on the bench for a little bit? Like it doesn't make sense to me. I understand he's getting paid a ton of money, and I understand why. He is an extremely talented player, but this was not his game. He was not that guy, pal. So just put him on the bench. Like, I understand maybe that's insulting because of his status, but brother, you're in the finals. You've got to be doing what works. You have to be prioritizing winning. And De'Aaron Fox on the court, De'Aaron Fox on the floor, was not in the ingredients list for a W. So, it was so frustrating. Like, I wanted the Knicks to win, but it was also really frustrating to see this kind of hooping from the Spurs, or really lack of hooping from De'Aaron Fox in particular. Anyway, I don't need to keep blabbering about it. Just kind of wanted to talk about the game itself as well as the aftermath in New York. Anyway, that's really about it. So yeah. Why? It's just, it's happening again. A game that I've really been sitting here fingers crossed with a rabbit's foot shoved in my ass, 4-leaf clover, making wishes on shooting stars, hoping and praying that is going to actually be good and revitalize one of the most important franchises in my life, has now just had a piece of information drop like a bomb here and it's made me sick to my stomach. It's all fart, no poop, bro. Gears of War E-Day reportedly costs a staggering $400 million to develop. 400 million clams banished to the Shadow Realm for the upcoming Gears of War game. Now, the source of this information comes from Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson, who stated, Gears of War E-Day's budget is insane. I've heard upwards of 400 million. So maybe this is a game of telephone and it's completely incorrect. It's not actually that much. This isn't like concrete definitive proof that it is north of 400 million or around 400 million doubloons or anything like that. Because, we don't know for sure. Like, we don't have access to the balance sheet. If we did, maybe they have 100 million put into Nitos or something for the team to enjoy at their desks. Like, who really fucking knows? But from what I know, Tom Henderson has a pretty solid reputation for this kind of reporting, so there is a chance that is correct. And if it is, there's a nice comparison this article gives about Marvel Spider-Man 2, which had a budget of 300 million, which means it needed 7.2 million copies at full price to just break even. And for comparison, Gears of War 2, the best-selling entry, sold 6.75 million. And I actually went to the Gears of War 2 midnight release. That was a huge moment. Gears of War at that time was a cultural phenomenon. People, even outside of the gaming space, were talking about Gears of War. It was always Gears of War and Halo. And then eventually with Call of Duty 4 coming into the fold. But the point is, at its heyday of relevancy and, being a part of the mainstream gaming consciousness, it sold 6.75 million, which would not recoup its budget. And that's at full price, it wouldn't recoup its budget. With E-Day going to Game Pass, that's not going to be full price. And I also don't see it eclipsing these numbers of Gears of War 2. People aren't salivating and scratching at themselves ferociously, waiting for a new Gears entry. Most people forgot it ever existed. Most people don't care. So it just seems like it's already curtains if this budget is accurate. This is just, it's unacceptable. Why are these games' budgets so incredibly bloated? I refuse to believe it. Like a growth spurt in my 30s, I shan't believe in such heresy. Why is it almost $500 million? This has never been a good thing. Like, this has literally never been a good thing. Halo Infinite budget got up to like $500 million or whatever. And it's like, look what happened there, right? This has never been a good thing. Concord, for example, Lord have mercy on us. Forgive us for our sins. This has always just been a recipe for disaster. This is just, it feels doomed to fail no matter what. Even if it comes out and it's a ballistic turbo banger, it's not going to make that back. Like, I don't see a world where it possibly could. When it's an Xbox exclusive, it's going to be on Game Pass. Like, how does it even have a chance at recouping that? So it's once again just going to bury the Gears franchise even deeper into the dirt, where it's already like a forgotten relic of the past that people don't even think about anymore. It's just, it's painful. Why is it so much? It's just, the only game that has a budget like this, well, more than this, that probably will be able to make it back and then some, with some gravy on top, is Grand Theft Auto 6. But Gears of War E-Day is not Grand Theft Auto 6. Gears of War E-Day has about as much a chance at competing with the success of GTA 6 as fucking the Killer Bean game does. And Killer Bean was developed by one man in a cave with a box of scraps, like Tony Stark. And it's a very fun game, by the way. It's got a lot of problems, but I have been enjoying it. Point is, there is no world where Gears of War E-Day should have a budget like this. It just feels completely butt-fucked from the start, and it hasn't even begun, really. And the thing is, I actually was pleasantly surprised by the trailer and the gameplay they showed. Like, yeah, Marcus Phoenix looks a little odd in civilian clothing. It's weird seeing him not oiled up, bulked up, fucking creatine, testosterone, and oxytocin fucking flowing from every pore in his body. But the gameplay looks fun. It looks solid. It feels like a return to form in terms of grittiness, like the original had captured. So yeah, like, aside from people pointing out that, Marcus looks like he's on Ozempic, I think most people are pleasantly surprised to see Gears look like this. One of the big problems I have about modern Gears games is how weightless it feels and how there's no punch to it anymore. What they showed throughout all the gameplay in this demonstration, as well as like the further stuff they showed, makes me feel like it's back to that really chunky feel. Whereas like the more modern Gears games felt more cartoonish, where I couldn't even tell when I killed something because they just instantly blow up into like this balloon of meat. Here, to me it is feeling like the original did. But it's also very possible that I'm just really nostalgic now and I just desperately want a good Gears game, because Gears has been in the gutter for so long, and the last one that came out was not good. I really want the game to be good, and from what I've seen so far, it at least doesn't look bad, so we're going in the right direction compared to the previous Gears games at least. But with this budget, it feels like even if it's amazing, it won't matter, because I don't see a world where it could possibly make money or be like a justifiable investment with that figure. Now again, it's not like confirmed that that's accurate or anything, and as pointed out by Henderson as well, let's be honest, it probably wasn't going to make money even if it was on PlayStation, but it's definitely not going, like, who's buying an Xbox and Game Pass for Gears? No one, in my opinion. And there's no Xboxes to buy anywhere because they can't make anymore. I mean, it's hard to, like, strongly disagree there. Even if it was going to PlayStation, like, originally it was about, we had this brief golden moment where it was looking like exclusivity was going to be a thing of the past, where you can play the games that you want to play on your preferred console or on PC. Like, exclusivity was starting to dwindle a little bit, but now it's back in full swing. So now this isn't going to be hitting PlayStation, which means it's cutting off another entire market that it's going, like, I think it's desperately going to need to grasp onto those honkers and not let go. Like, please, think of Gears. Look at Gears. Here's an option, a new game. Check it out. but now that it's exclusive to Xbox, and Xbox is already far and away the least popular console out there. It's like Ouya in 2026. Like, people are not flocking to Xbox. It has been in a bad spot. Something I've talked about a lot. It's sad, but that's just the reality of it. Phil Spencer also wasn't shy about mentioning that every opportunity he got about how they lost the console wars. I do think under Asha now, they're at least trying to steer the ship in a better direction and fix certain things, but it's still not saved. And I don't think that Xbox is in a strong enough place where somehow it's going to make Gears successful, and even if every single person on the planet that owned an Xbox also bought Gears of War E-Day at full price, it probably still wouldn't make back that budget. I don't know if there's enough people on Earth with an Xbox to do so. Like, it feels so outrageous. Like, it already feels like it's defeated with a budget like that before it even releases. And I think he's right. It probably wouldn't have been saved if it was on PlayStation either, if this budget is correct, but it would have stood a much better chance overall. Now, this article from The Gamer does make a mention that the $400 million budget claim needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because it is not confirmed. And it might not be that high. It goes on to mention that the Coalition, who's developing this game, is Xbox's leading Unreal Engine 5 expert team and has spent years building tools and training other studios, so a portion of that budget may include the long-term investment into Unreal Engine 5 from Coalition. So potentially it's closer to 250 or 300 million, which is still extremely high, and the article does mention that as well. It's a very uphill battle for Gears of War E-Day to be like financially successful, even if the game is good. The odds are already stacked against it, which is not where you want to be when you're trying to take the fucking paddles to the chest of a dead franchise like Gears. Anyway, I just found that very disappointing. These type of budgets are not sustainable, and they never end up working out. It's just the way that it is. I can only hope that Gears of War E-Day blows everyone away, is actually a great game, and they don't once again just shut it in the freezer after a flop. But we'll see. We will certainly see. Anyway, that's really about it. So yeah, there are few names as iconic as Steven Spielberg in the film industry. For the longest time, his name was synonymous with high-quality blockbuster cinema. And his newest film just dropped, Disclosure Day. And there was a lot of hype and mystique around it. A lot of people were really excited as like a return to form for Spielberg. And I've just seen it. It's like not great. I don't think it's like a terrible movie, but it's a letdown. Like, if Spielberg's name wasn't on this, I think the critics' reception to it would have been far more harsh. Because right now it's sitting at a pretty respectable percentage from critics, but it's not a very inspired film, and it's certainly not the kind of film that it presents itself as in its marketing. It's actually a pretty generic one, all things considered. Which sucks to say, because the ingredients in this stew are solid. Aliens, Spielberg, how can you go wrong? They found a way. Let's just get into the spaghetti and meatballs here. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers. Here's your spoiler warning. We follow two characters, Daniel and Margaret. Daniel is part of this secret, off-the-books, huge mega corporation that deals with cover-ups for the aliens and the alien tech that they have and have interacted with. And he decides to go rogue. He grabs all the archives and he wants to release it to the world because he believes humans have a right to that knowledge. Margaret is a weather woman who, out of nowhere, has an encounter with a cardinal that awakens something inside of her. And then when she goes on air, she starts speaking the brown note. And everyone's pooping and shitting and farting all over the world. And it turns out it bestowed upon her special powers. So she can look at people in their eye, and she gets to drop in on their life. She sees everything they've ever experienced or ever felt. So she has a gift, and Daniel also has a gift. He is a math genius, a real math whiz. So he is able to speak math. It's the universal language. And the two of them go on a big adventure. Margaret feels Daniel out there in the ether, and she's like a fucking like UAV online, like it's a Call of Duty kill streak, constantly tracking him across the world. Daniel is on the run from his ex-employer who's trying to hunt him down to prevent him from releasing it because they don't want it out there. They believe it's going to cause a panic because the world's already on the brink. And Daniel is avoiding the most incompetent agent you'll ever see. Like, the men in black here are really dumb, like Three Stooges level silly stupid. And they're supposed to be like the most elite agents ever. Like, they can basically be anywhere they need to be like that. They fucking teleport there, basically. And the head guy, whose name I'm blanking on. What's his name? Noah. Noah has an alien artifact. It's basically an alien Sharpie. And he can bop it, turn it, twist it, and he is able to, like, jack into the minds of people that he's trying to locate. So he, like, gets into the mind of Daniel's girlfriend to try and control her and find out where they are. So he can, like, astral project himself and even control her actions. Like, he basically works her like a puppet, which Daniel is well aware of and still takes very minimal precautions to stop that from happening, even though Noah is spamming that ability to keep tracking him. So Daniel's also not, super great at this whole escaping thing, but he always finds a way somehow to slip by them. Anyway, Margaret and Daniel eventually meet, and it turns out these two have been blessed by the aliens, and the aliens have been here for a long, long time. And Vortex, that company, has been like torturing them, interrogating them, and using their technology. And now these two have met, and their memories get unlocked. They shared an experience where the aliens chose them. They fucking abducted them. And it's the scene where they're like going through it, they're reliving it, is really, really, really silly. Like, the aliens present themselves as animals to them while they're kids, and then they go to a ship, and then an alien puts stones on their face, and that's where they get their powers from, which then randomly awaken when visited by a cardinal. And then eventually it ends with them going on air, revealing all of the videos and the evidence, and proving to the world aliens are real. It's Disclosure Day. And then they even wheel in one of the aliens. Like, there was another detractor from that company. He wheels in an alien. The alien's fucking senile and kind of stumbles up a little bit. And then he grabs Daniel, whispers something, and then delivers a message to the world that we don't get to hear. Left up to interpretation. That's the movie in a nutshell. And it's just, I really wanted it to be good. I wanted to like it, but it's just not great. Like, I didn't hate it. Like, it is a wholesome movie, and there are moments that I think are stronger than others. But basically, it's just like a really standard by-the-numbers chase film, and the chasing isn't that exciting. Like, it never felt tense. And there is really cheesy scenes out the wazoo, which have their own certain charm to them, but, like, good heavens. There's a scene where she's using her power to break Daniel out. So she feels where he is. He's been captured by Vortex. So she goes in and she starts, like, dropping in on everyone's mind. But then also she is changing what they are seeing. So they are seeing their child, their dead grandmother, their, tax agent, like whoever they want to see, they see. And then they're just blown away, like, and just let her do whatever she wants, including Noah, the main bad guy, who you think would not care as much, but she just walks in through all these people. Noah tries to stop her, but she looks him in the eyes, and he's seeing his dead wife. And he's just blown away. He's like... So then she gets to just break him out for free, and as people are trying to step in and stop her, she's looking them in the eyes and projecting their loved ones in front of them, and they just go and let her by. Like, it's not like she hypnotizes them or anything. She just shows them their loved ones, and they're just let her through. So then she just walks out of the base. It reminds me of a scene from a Neil Breen movie called I Am Here Now. It actually felt straight out of that movie, that whole sequence, because it goes on for a while. Like, I don't think that power would have allowed her to do that, especially considering everyone there knows about, like, you know, what the alien powers are capable of, and that she is, you know, one of them, or at least has that kind of gift. But I guess they, when faced with it directly, couldn't believe it and couldn't, you know, fight back. And there's even to cap off the scene, the main guy Noah goes, "What is she?" And then the other guy, who hasn't been like seeing anything from her because she hasn't looked him in the eye, he says, "Unstoppable." Then he goes and gets a gun and starts chasing them around with a gun. Well, I only just realized my camera was really zoomed in for this whole review, and I don't really want to do it all over again. So I think I'm going to let it ride. Sorry to say. But yeah, there's no need to keep yapping about it. There are some things I liked about it. Like, I think the first half of the film is definitely better than the second half. The second half, I think it gets really, really goofy. But yeah, in the first half, I think there is some interesting things that they were toying around with and setting up, and didn't really lead to a whole lot, but like there were some interesting moments, and some of the scenes were pretty solid. I just don't think any of like the big emotional beats were really hitting, and that a lot of it was basically just focused on these chases that were hard to get into. It was just, I don't know, it just felt very standard and safe. Anyway, though, I don't think it's like a horrible film. It's just not a very great one. And again, if Steven Spielberg's name wasn't the name on this, I think that would be pretty unanimous across the board that it's just kind of a movie. That's really about it. So, yep. Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be a pretty poisonous topic where the only winning move is not to play in regards to covering the H3 versus iDubbbz lawsuit. But sometimes you put your hand on the stove to see if it's still hot. And boy howdy is it ever. Like I've always said, I treat this channel like a diary. I just blabber about things that I feel like talking on, just sitting in my chair, kicking my little 5'6" petite leggies around and just giving my thoughts from the old steel trap up here on it. And one topic I've always covered is creator lawsuits. So, when I heard about the H3 vs. iDubbbz defamation case, I wanted to take a peek into it, sink my teeth in there and see what's going on, because that is a pretty wild thing to learn about. And learn about it I did like a little scholar. It was a new lawsuit. It was only public knowledge for like 24 hours, so I did as much research on it as I could and watched the iDubbbz stream that started, that is like the main catalyst of it. I watched the H3 stream where he explains his lawsuit, and I talked to both parties, iDubbbz and Ethan, to try and get the clearest, most complete picture of everything going on here. And then I just gave you my view on it from the old Floridian homunculus eyes. And I think I've always made it abundantly clear, you're always welcome to disagree with me. I've always kept that door wide open because I actually value differences of opinion. I hate echo chambers. I spit on that constantly. I actively shut down the idea that you have to agree with everything I say or else I hate you. You're tacky and I hate you. Throughout all my content, from the womb to the tomb, I have always welcomed discussion and people having a difference of opinion because, as I've always said, I think when you surround yourself with sycophants and you only lock yourself into one way of viewing things, you do yourself a disservice. I think it is a bad thing to just be constantly locked in a bubble. Now, the reason I mention that is because I made the mistake, I committed the old sin of taking a peek at what the discussion was around this video on, like, Reddit and Twitter, which something I haven't done in quite a few moons now. I was expecting, like, actual discussion because I'm new to this topic and I wanted to see, okay, well, what are some things that I didn't know about? What can I learn about here and dive deeper on? And there was some very valid critiques and some information that I could get my hands on and learn more about. But boy howdy, there was a lot of hoopla that I couldn't have even imagined would be like a controversial thing. And there were people that were proudly stating they didn't watch the video and then getting angry at things they assumed I might have said in it, or attacking me for things that I never said that aren't in the video because they didn't watch it, or they're replying to someone who's just actually making shit up that they're pulling out of their ass that I never said. So it just feels fucking useless to even engage in the topic in that case. Like, it's so odd. Like, one that I didn't expect was just me mentioning that I'm not online as much as I used to be was apparently like a highly debated topic.
The guy whose entire career is front running whatever's going viral is saying that he doesn't know what's going on the internet. All right. I mean, obviously, we got to take his word for it, right? Let's see what videos he's been making. Lego. Watch Mojo got even more pathetic. Degenerate cringe. Lego vigilantes. Lego scandal keeps getting messy. Department responds to the Lego scandal. Lego scandal is getting extremely dangerous and scary. Cringe officer embarrasses himself. Lego scandal keeps getting crazier.
The gist of it is, when I was talking about the defamation lawsuit, I also mentioned that Ethan has other active lawsuits against other creators, and I called him the Nintendo of YouTubers because he's become extremely litigious. But I didn't dive into those other lawsuits because I didn't know much about them. And that claim is apparently extremely hard to believe because everyone thinks and assumes that I am terminally online like I used to be 2 or 3 years ago. But when I said that's not the case, there are quite a few people that just don't believe me. Unfathomable moment, so it must be a lie. So here's a streamer debunking by going through my channel and noticing I've posted a lot of videos on Lego, for example, because of the big Lego scandal, which I think is a very interesting example to use off the point he's making about me front-running every viral story. Because with the Reckless Bin vs. Bricks and Minifigs Lego scandal, I actually was getting called out for avoiding that and ignoring it because I was late to covering it. Reckless Bin dropped part 1 on May 21st, and I heard about it from Stream Chat, and then a friend sent it to me as well, and I made my video covering it on May 26th, 5 days later, but in that interim, people were saying I was avoiding the topic. I just find it fascinating how, if I cover something quickly or extensively, like in the case of the Lego scandal, that's a problem. I'm just front-running shit to capitalize off the virality of it. But if I am late to covering something, well, that means that I was avoiding it and I must have known about it the whole time and had ulterior motives to avoid the topic out of cowardice, and I only talk about it when pressed. Feels like a lose-lose. If I'm too quick to something or too interested in something so I make a lot of content on it, well, then I'm just there to front-run it and capitalize off it being popular. But if I'm too slow to it, well, it means I was actually avoiding it the whole time, and when I do cover it, well, it's only because people pressured me. So, where's the Goldilocks zone? I can't be too quick to something or too interested in it, because that's frowned upon, but I also can't be too slow to it or not cover it at all, because then that must mean that I knew about it the whole time. I'm damn near omniscient, I guess. I see everything, and thus, if I am slow to it or don't talk about it, then there was an ulterior motive and a deeper reason that's nefarious. So where is the Goldilocks zone? I personally don't see why it's so hard to believe that, considering in a lot of the stories I cover, they have already been covered by others, like Dolan Darkus, for example. Slop Live has beaten me to, like, every topic for the last year, basically. And the way I find out about a lot of the things I cover is through, like I said, friends sending it to me, or when I do stream, which isn't daily, I'm a semi-retired streamer, but when I do stream chat, putting things on my radar. And naturally, what people are probably going to be sending are the popular things, because that's what they've seen. So that's usually what I get sent. But it's not all the time either. Like on his stream, as he was scrolling around talking about how it's only like, you know, the big popular stuff, he passed multiple things that weren't. Like that video about not enough people think about this. That's about sand. It's literally just about sand and sand-related crimes like the Sand Mafia. And he also even called out another one about ranking every item on Panda Express's menu. he used that to like belittle me about like, it's not good is the thing he was insinuating there. But it's not like a viral story. It's not like Panda Express is a huge topic you gotta strike while the iron's hot. My channel has always just been things that I'm interested in at the time. And yeah, there are a lot of stories I get sent that I do find interesting and do yap about, like the Lego scandal. But I really do miss a lot more these days than I did when I was very online all the time, like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know, like, how else to prove it to you. I mean, I guess, like, you can look at my Twitter page and see that I have 2 tweets in, like, the last 2 years, or on Instagram, I make, like, a post every month and a half, and a lot of them are just me hanging out with my farm animals. Like, you can check my streaming history and see that I'm not an active streamer. Like, I'm an active streamer, but I'm not streaming with the same frequency I used to, and I'm not putting in really long hours, aside from when I did Destiny 2 Salvation's Edge Blind recently, which was fucking exciting, but I don't really know how else to say it. I just don't see everything that happens online, and I can't believe that's something that's apparently like a big issue or so unbelievable. Like, in fact, it's embarrassing for me that people can't imagine that I'm not online all the time.
All the lazy ass fucking thumbnails. Also, he has the Asmongoldie outfit where he only wears a dirty white t-shirt in every fucking thumbnail. God, every single video is like, guys, he's gotta stay offline to make his Panda Express tier list.
Well, now you've gone way too far. How fucking dare you? I have been wearing white t-shirts, not dirty white t-shirts, by the way, pristine Jim Mint white t-shirts since high school. Since Asmongold was in diapers. It's like me saying that you have a moist Cridian hair and beard combo. But anyway, now let's talk about the other lawsuits here, because that was a big point that people were very upset with, that I didn't extensively cover those as well when talking about the defamation lawsuit. And since I didn't do so, and people didn't believe that it was because I didn't know about it, they are accusing me of knowingly avoiding it, or even silently championing for those lawsuits, which I find befuddling, because throughout my entire time on YouTube, the 18 or 19 years on YouTube, I think I have made it beyond crystal clear how much I dislike this litigious approach to online discourse. And really just this excessive use of the legal system for strong-arming or silencing. Like, I have made, I don't know how many videos covering cases even outside of, like, the internet scope of, like, sometimes the legal toilet paper flying back and forth, but, like, just in general. Like, the willy-nilly lawsuits that fly around from, like, corporations attempting to bully people, too. Like, I don't know why anyone would think for a second that I would be avoiding talking about that or agreeing with it. Why would I? I never have in the past, so why would I start now? You just don't like me, which is totally fine. I get it. Not everyone likes the old Florida peach. But you're just viewing it in bad faith and making that assumption, and it's incorrect. Because the truth is, and this shouldn't come as a shock to anyone, after learning more about those other lawsuits that Ethan is engaged in, like the fair use lawsuits and such, guess what? I don't agree with those either. Now, obviously, I don't know all the nitty-gritty around every single lawsuit. I've only just begun learning about all of these, but from everything I've seen from the lawsuits that he has actively going on, there's nothing in there that makes me think that this is like the right way of doing things, or that this is different from other times in the past where creators have sued each other over disputes. Now, clearly I don't know all the nuance and intricacies of fair use law. Ethan would certainly know that better than I, and many others would. So maybe he has some strong cases here, and in one of the instances with one of these streamers, it did seem like they were just uninterrupted playing the video without even an attempt to transform it. So maybe that could be like a easy fair use win for Ethan. But I just don't think that's a win overall. Like, For as long as I've been on the internet, that kind of behavior has been frowned upon. And I really think if the targets were different, if it wasn't streamers that a lot of people don't like, the response would be very different to these lawsuits. Right now, a lot of people celebrate them because they just hate the people that Ethan is suing. So they go yeehaw for it. But these individuals, like the streamers in particular for fair use, they are a fraction of the size of Ethan. So it's to me, a hard case to make that he was genuinely, like, losing eyeballs because of them streaming it on their Twitch channel. And yeah, that is, like, a big asshole thing for them to do, but let's be real, it's not hurting you, it's just you don't like them, and they don't like you. So this was a way of being able to get a big jab in there, and since a lot of the internet doesn't like them, they get to rally behind you as well, as opposed to start asking the question, why even bother? You already won, again, against that kind of behavior. The internet, from what I can tell, this is kind of post-mortem now since I'm super late to it, but from what I can tell, no one was really on the side of the streamers that were just blatantly streaming it without any kind of transformation or anything like that. So you already won. What's the point in continuing this further, paying big bucks to the lawyer just so you could also financially hurt them to further, get them? It seems like it's less about, fighting a just cause for fair use and more about, like, here's some more ammunition. The big one that I've spent the most time looking into is the Denham's case, because it's the most recent and is being touted as a tentative loss for Ethan, which I don't know what a tentative loss really means, because it's not an official loss, it's still an ongoing lawsuit here. But the judge had like a very seemingly stern view on it, that even cited Ethan Klein's previous fair use victory against him in his suit against Denham's. Ethan Klein, a while back, had a landmark achievement in the fight for fair use against good old bold guy Matt Haas, and that ruling was cited here against him in this fair use lawsuit. So to me, that illustrates that maybe these lawsuits aren't coming from a genuine place of trying to enforce real fair use and are potentially just coming from a place of revenge. Now, I don't know the intricacies of everyone that's being sued and their relationship to Ethan and the Snark community. I don't know, but from everything I've seen in these lawsuits, I just don't agree with going this extremely litigious path. There are very few lawsuits in this space that I think make sense. And like I said yesterday, the one that does is him going after the snarking community that allegedly did send a fraudulent CPS check to his house and human skulls, which apparently is taboo to even mention now for some reason. I got fucking dogpiled for bringing that up, but from everything I've seen, that did happen, right? Like, I didn't hallucinate that or anything. So, like, that's a pretty fucking big deal. That's a pretty traumatizing thing. That is psychopath behavior. So, if the snarking community is responsible for that, then yeah, it makes sense to go that path, because that is extremely unhinged, and that is something that should be pursued legally to stop that from ever happening again. But yeah, I honestly am very surprised how many people were so quick to jump to the conclusion that I was avoiding this and lying about not knowing about it, and secretly championing for those lawsuits and that kind of thing. It's so upsetting because good faith is something that's just gone. It's completely flushed down the shitter. Anyone who would watch the video in good faith would be able to recognize, okay, maybe he is telling the truth and doesn't know about those lawsuits, which is why he hasn't included them there. I feel like that would be a normal thing to do, a courtesy to extend, considering I have always vocally advocated against this kind of extremely litigious path in online discourse and online communities. So why now is that no longer afforded the courtesy of, oh no, he definitely fell back on his principles. He doesn't believe in that anymore here. But I guess, to be honest, good faith is kind of viewed as weakness online. People are far more interested in scalp, far more interested in the spectacle and as much shit slinging as possible. So if it's trying to approach things with a level head, you kind of get attacked by everybody, because no one really wants that anymore. So, like yesterday, I feel like I did a very good faith look at everything. And I spent 3 hours going through, like, the essentials of what was going on, learning about it from the ground up. And once I did that, then I dove into watching iDubbbz's stream where the lawsuit spawned from. I watched H3's stream, and I talked to them and continued to look deeper into it across the span of most of that day. And I approached it, I believe, in very good faith across the board. And in doing so, you will always earn that prestigious title of fence sitter. If you're not extreme on either side of the drama, you are fence sitting it. Which I think it's a term that's really lost all its luster, because in that video, I think it's a pretty strong stance. I don't agree with Ethan's defamation lawsuit. And I spend 36 minutes yapping about all of my reasons why. And boy howdy, I repeated myself multiple times. I watched it back, and I literally made the same point like 3 times by accident. Like I said, I do most of these in only a handful of takes, so sometimes I lose track of what I've already said. So I really did make it very clear what my stance is, that this is not something that gets 2 big thumbs up from me. But because I also mentioned that iDubbbz stream was a very poorly handled one that I think used a disgusting comment to try and illustrate his point in that it was a very painful stream to sit through, because I mentioned that, people are accusing me of both sidesing it. You were shitting on iDubbbz for most of the video, actually, which I don't know how you walk away with that impression. iDubbbz himself will also tell you that that was a bad stream, and he is regretful of it. He has publicly come out, apologized for it, and said that that was bad, and that it was too far. But me giving my perspective that, yeah, it was pretty torturous to sit through is apparently, a big no-no. Now, I'm going to go ahead and repeat myself again before getting into the next stuff I want to talk about, because, again, a lot of the drama from this isn't even about my take on it. It's about clips of my take on it without even giving why I think that. So I want it really front and center so that there can be no confusion why I disagree with this defamation lawsuit. So to do that, let's take it from the top, from the start. What started this defamation lawsuit?
It's okay. So I do want to say I don't agree with what's being said in this comment here, but I'm putting it on screen because I think it should be addressed, because it's a big, bold accusation that's very fucked up.
That comment he is showing was not made by him. He then goes on to explain what he's actually trying to accomplish by having that comment on his stream for so long as a watermark.
Also, I will say that I think Ethan Klein is terrified of this guy. So it's just kind of like legit. It is to me, it's super funny that he has so much smoke for everyone that he thinks he can bully, but the person that he's fucking terrified, he just keeps very overtly running from. And it's like, yeah.
I think he made this point pretty dog shittily and used a very gross comment for it, which is what I said yesterday, and I still stand by that, and I said it to iDubbbz as well. The point that he is making by showing this comment on his stream is, look at what Destiny can say and get away with without Ethan's wrath, yet he has smoke for so many other people. Destiny has said something unthinkably heinous, and Ethan isn't going after him, he's going after other people. He must be afraid of him. That is his point with showing that. Ethan has gone on to say that this is significantly more malicious from iDubbbz than Destiny, because Destiny said it in passing and, he was just being a dickhead and disavowed it. But iDubbbz isn't saying it, and he even openly states without any guesswork, without any riddles, and without any sarcasm that he doesn't agree with it, that he doesn't believe it. He is not presenting it as true. But Ethan is saying it's more malicious because Ian, iDubbbz, did meet his family, meet his kids, and now he has that comment on his stream. And I agree, that is filthy, and it is very low, which is why I'm saying it wasn't a good stream from iDubbbz. It just wasn't, and it's something he admits as well. But at no point in that stream that I sat through did iDubbbz ever try and make the argument that Destiny's comment reflects the truth or is real in any way. He openly says he doesn't agree with it. He is using it to make a point, and he doesn't do a great job of expressing that point super clearly. But what he does express clearly, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, is that he doesn't agree with the comment. So it just doesn't make sense to me why Ethan is super willing to say, like, that didn't mean anything coming from Destiny, but iDubbbz having it on his stream means malicious intent and that it's lending an air of credibility to it. I just disagree because he's never putting credibility into it. Him sarcastically saying that this is a serious allegation that he should really look at is him making the point that why are you ignoring something this gross from Destiny but going so hard on others for much less? And in Ethan's statement, like I pointed out, he does outright say that he had a much better chance of winning against iDubbbz in Canada because of their laws there being very different than the laws here in the US. So he didn't believe he could actually win against Destiny in the US, but felt he could against iDubbbz in Canada. So to me, that feels like trying to capitalize off lax free speech laws in Canada to get revenge, and using this as a convenient excuse of exacting that revenge and punishing him further for associating with snarkers, as opposed to actually pursuing a real defamation case. Because if it's a defamation case you're only willing to pursue in Canada and not here in the States, then to me it doesn't feel like a defamation case worth pursuing. And people were upset at me for saying that, but I just truly believe that free speech, laws around speech in general, should be very protected, and I feel like the US does a pretty strong job compared to other countries, and I think that should be extended to every country on the planet, to have laws that are strong to protect real free speech. And like I said, if iDubbbz was going around saying that the Destiny comment was accurate, it was true, and promoting it as a legitimate claim that he believed in and used his previous friendship with Ethan as this place of credibility to try and convince his argument that this is a claim that has really got some merit to it, some real oomph, then I would completely agree. That wouldn't be free speech, and that wouldn't be protected in the US either, by the way. So in that case, I would get that. If he was going around knowingly spreading this fraudulent, disgusting allegation and promoting it as though it were true, then yeah, that would be a defamation case that I would understand. But that's just not the truth of what happened in that stream. I am still just not a fan of extremely litigious avenues for handling the online space. I don't think there's ever any winners in it at all, except for, of course, the fucking lawyers that are salivating. And yes, I do believe this sets a bad example that can open a big can of worms in the online space. Not just with commentary YouTubers, by the way, just in general. People were upset about stifling voices, but didn't bother to hear the entire take. The reason why I think something like this could stifle voices is because if this does become commonplace, where people learn from this example that going through litigation to handle issues is the proper channel, people will be less willing to cover controversial stories. Like, for example, when you make a video calling out like a potential scam, you are taking a very real risk. And in the case of this, who's to say that company that may or may not be scamming sees that and just immediately goes this path, shutting it down? You are showing this customer's perspective, and it's hurting our brand. It's defamatory. We are coming after you with litigation. It would be, I believe, an issue that could be wide-reaching. And other YouTubers that are, in a beef with each other, maybe they do the same thing. Like, you said this about me, or you posted a screenshot of a tweet that was slanderous about me, so now I'm coming after you legally. And then it just becomes a big problem. Like, I'll use a commentary example because I think that's the one people are very focused on. You remember the whole Mr. Beast and Dogpack thing? Well, that was perhaps the biggest payday for tons of commentary channels that latched onto that bosom hard. Tons and tons and tons of videos were being churned out daily covering that situation there. And fast forward a length of time, turns out a lot of the allegations were either misleading or just outright false and incorrect. So should Mr. Beast then turn around and issue a lawsuit to every commentary channel that was covering that saga and siding with Dogpack and promoting the Dogpack allegations as truth and putting them forward as legitimate and real? I don't think so. I don't think that would be a good thing, but he realistically probably does have a pretty strong-ish case he could build for defamation lawsuits against a lot of channels that were actively preaching Dogpack's allegations as gospel. Titles and thumbnails talking about how he's a fraud and a scammer based on the Dogpack allegations, many of which turned out to be incorrect. But they were still promoting them as the truth. So should Mr. Beast issue defamation lawsuits to all those commentary channels? And should this end in a victory here and have a favorable ruling in the books for this defamation case, well, then Mr. Beast could point to, look at that, he won here already, we can use that. I'm not saying that would happen, but maybe it could. It's, again, probably just not best to just have that ammunition as a possibility. Now, at the end of the day, that's just one Cro-Magnon's perspective on it, and it is completely fine to disagree with it, even healthy. You know what's not healthy is this trend where people don't even watch the video and only engage through select Twitter clips in order to get outraged at and form their whole opinion around the video they didn't watch from. Now, I don't want to just dive into some unhinged takes, but this one actually tilted me, and for some reason I saw this quite a bit. He spoke with Ethan Klein, but not iDubbbz. Pathetic. Like Maximilian Pegasus here. Pathetic Yugi. If only they watched the video. Because I didn't just speak to Ethan Klein, I also spoke with iDubbbz. And it's right there in the very beginning of the video. Like, it's early in the video. Now, I did also have a brief conversation with iDubbbz about this as well. I mean, what can you do? I did say I talked with both of them about it. And yet people are still saying I only heard one side of the story. I mean, really, what can you do? Like, actually, what can you do? It's incorrect, but you're making whole arguments around this dream you had that didn't actually happen. Because you didn't watch the video, you just already had a preconceived image of me that you want to ensure stays intact, so that way you can continue to not like me. And that's fine. You can not like me. Not everyone likes the fun-sized Florida man over here. That's completely fine. Absolutely. But can you at least be right about something that you're not liking me for? Just watch the video first. I just realized I have been yapping for almost 30 minutes, and I already know without even a semblance, not even an iota of doubt, that almost nobody is watching to this point. They've already formed their opinion even before clicking the video or within the first couple of minutes to start fighting on different points. There's no reason to keep going down there. Like, it does feel useless to even engage with a lot of online discourse. It does just feel useless because it doesn't even matter what the take is. People don't even really care about the take per se. It's just they already have an opinion of you, and no matter what, it's not changing. Sometimes they don't even bother to watch the video to try and shit on you for something that they think you might have said in the video, or they saw like a tweet that references the video, and that's good enough for them to shit on you for that, even if it's entirely wrong. So, like, it is not very productive. Anyway, though, just wanted to yap. That's about it. See ya.